in 5 seconds.
Can run the 40 faster than Tom Brady. He got a perfect score on the Wonderlic. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
As we head into the final week of the NFL regular season, what does the future have in store for Perloff's Philadelphia Eagles? Good morning, everyone. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff.
Everything's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine.
The level of delusion that you are working with right now is a thing of beauty, quite frankly. So here's the thing about the Philadelphia Eagles, and this is why people say it is so hard for the Super Bowl loser to repeat, right? Because look at what's happened with Philadelphia. If I could use one word to describe the Philadelphia Eagles, it's panic. Everything about this part of the season, this last part, looks like panic moves. It was a panic move to go to Matt Patricia as the defensive coordinator. You've now been worse on defense. It's panicky because the offense has actually been scoring points, yet you wouldn't know it from listening to any of the Eagles players, especially after the win over the New York Giants. They scored over 30 points, and everyone said there's a problem with the offense.
I don't see the problem with the offense. You can't score points when the football is not in your hands. You just let the Arizona Cardinals, who are playing to get a high draft pick, they don't even want to win, run for 250 yards against you. The Arizona Cardinals, they're not a run team. How does that happen? So everyone's blaming Jalen Hurts in Philly, and A.J. Brown's upset. That's insane. 100% of the problem is on defense. And I don't care if it's Matt Patricia or Sean Desai or who's the defensive coordinator. This defense stinks from player one to the last player on the bench. There is nobody who is playing up to where they should be. It's the coaching. It's the way Howie Roseman, the GM, set up the team. Everything is wrong on defense. Do not blame Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts cannot score when the football is not in his hand. To quote Giselle, quarterbacks cannot throw the ball, catch the ball. But honestly, I thought Jalen Hurts has been fine. It's just the defense cannot get the other team off the field, even if that other team stinks.
Some numbers to back up what Perloff is talking about. With a defensive line that has been invested in to the level of the Philadelphia Eagles, you are 15th in pressure rate. You're 25th in sack rate. You may have the worst linebacking core or one of them in the entire league. We saw that because obviously the Cardinals put 221 rushing yards on you. You are 31st in third down defense in the entire league.
Hurts.
You cannot get off the field. And by success rate, last week was the worst defensive performance in the last 17 years of the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, it's bad. And here's the real question. Can it actually be fixed to go on some kind of run here? Like, you were a shade from possibly winning the NFC East. That's the crazy thing. If you don't blow that game to Arizona, you're still in the driver's seat. Remember, we talked about the Eagles. You have the easiest path. You play the Giants twice and the Cardinals. Meanwhile, the Dallas Cowboys had to play the Lions, and they had to play harder teams. You guys had it, Perloff, and it feels like you're blowing it. You were right there. Yeah. Can you switch this up and salvage the season?
100% no. There's no way this team. First of all, I think this actually worked out so they could win one playoff game because they're avoiding the Rams. They'll probably get the Bucs in the first round. They might be able to beat the Bucs. They have no chance against the Cowboys. They have no chance against it. They'll probably play the Niners in the second round if they do beat the Bucs. They don't have a prayer. Just the way the defense is playing. Honestly, there is not a single quarterback who could not shred this secondary. So no, there's zero. I am totally. They're my Super Bowl pick, by the way. I'm out. Do you think there's any way they fixed it? What's the fix? There's nothing. There's not enough there to fix. There are not enough pieces to show together to make this defense work.
There is, of course, drama on the defensive side of the ball, the offensive side of the ball. Let's hear a little from A.J. Brown, who was hailed, and rightly so, as a great draft day trade for the Philadelphia Eagles 2 years ago. He's been excellent. At one point during the season, he was right there basically neck and neck with Tyreek Hill for yardage and thought about as a dark horse MVP candidate. He said he's tired of his antics being singled out by the media.
A.J. Brown frustrated with the Eagles. A.J. this, A.J. that, but
everybody in the locker room is frustrated. So why are you singling me out because I'm frustrated? Like, just because I'm shaking my head, I'm showing emotion. You can look at everybody in the stadium has bad body language. They're frustrated, you know? And so, yeah, I wanted to clear that up because it's not about me. Like, we're all frustrated. So I want to clear that up.
Says he knows that people won't actually believe what he says.
People may not believe that, but I don't care. At this point, like, I don't care. You know, I don't care. They're going to create whatever narrative and, like I'm splitting the locker room and all that. That's
This doesn't sound like a team that's ready to make a Super Bowl run. I'm going to be honest with you. When you have to defend yourself this much, and the crazy thing about the offense, we'll get back to the defense in a moment. The crazy thing about the offense is you actually are putting up over 30 points in the last 2 games. One a win over the Giants, one a loss to the Arizona Cardinals. And so why is Devontae Smith talking about how he's frustrated with the offense? Why does A.J. Brown have to come out and defend himself when the last 2 games you actually have put up over 30
And remember, the game before that, they lost to Seattle 2017, but the offense did enough to get the lead at the end, and the defense just completely crumbled. And Jalen Hurts threw that long bomb that was intercepted that was so stupid. Jalen Hurts, obviously, he's not like he was last year. He's taken a step back. It's the wrong question, Maggie, if they're going to have enough to rally to get together Super Bowl. The
Are they going to win a game?
It's not even whether they win a game. Is Nick Sirianni going to be back? That's the question in Philadelphia. Like, is he on the hot seat? And I think no. I think it's crazy to put a guy who's been in the playoffs, will be a 3rd straight year. But the fact that Adam Schefter had to come on the air yesterday and say Nick Sirianni is safe, like, forget Super Bowl run. Nobody says, Adam Schefter doesn't come out and say this coach is safe if a team is gearing up for a Super Bowl run. It's just not even an option.
Perloff, you guys got rid of Doug Peterson within 4 years of winning a Super Bowl.
I know. Well, that was probably a mistake.
Well,
but Sirianni, I like.
Right.
Actually, let's rephrase the question. Is this all, who's to blame here?
Okay, so
because there's no Super Bowl run happening. That's off the table. We're not even going to do that.
Well, I'm glad we're on the same page there. But here's the thing. I'm glad that Sirianni actually is getting the heat here because we did this with Mike Tomlin, where he was so staunch about keeping Matt Canada, the offensive coordinator. He wouldn't fire him. He wouldn't make a change, even though it was obvious that the offense wasn't working. And we said, the buck stops with you, Mike Tomlin. You have to wear this because you're not making the change that this team needs. I think Nick Sirianni has to wear it that his defense is this bad. He's shuffling around coordinators. Who in their right mind, what sports fan with half a brain thinks that Matt Patricia is the solution for anything? But Sirianni's done this a couple times where the fans have actually been right and he's been wrong. He did this his first season when they had to run the ball more and the fans were clamoring for it. Shane Steichen, now the head coach of the Colts, was the offensive coordinator. They gave him play calling duties, changed it all up. Fans were right. Fans have been right about Patricia, too. There was no chance that was going to be an upgrade.
Fans hate Sean Desai, the guy who replaced you. No, you cannot blame Sirianni for this. You cannot blame this on Matt Patricia. The defense before Patricia took over was even worse. The Niners, you said that the worst DVOA or whatever.
Success rate.
Yeah, that San Francisco game was the other game, was just as bad.
Actually, the Super Bowl was one of the worst ones.
Yeah, too. Yeah. The defense is a personnel issue. I don't personally blame Patricia. It's not the right personnel for Matt Patricia to run whatever defense he was running in New England. So he's dropping back all his pass rushers into coverage, and they're getting torched. It's been a disaster. But the guy before him was just as bad. It's the opposite of Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin should have moved on from Matt Canada earlier. I don't think Sirianni is to blame for moving on here. That's not the problem. The problem was already there.
Isn't it his coordinators? Isn't he the one who's making these decisions?
Yes, but that's a preseason thing. So the backstory is Vic Fangio was supposed to be their defensive coordinator.
And Sean Desai is a Vic Fangio acolyte.
Right. So what happened was Jonathan Gannon got the Cardinals job, and they investigated and said that the Cardinals were tampering with Jonathan Gannon. Right. So that deal got delayed by a week. In that week, they failed to hire Vic Fangio full-time, and Fangio went off to Miami, and they were stuck with Fangio Light and Sean Desai. Been terrible. He has no idea what he's doing. I'm sorry. He's just not a good defensive coordinator. I don't think he'll be a defensive coordinator again. So I think they were desperate, and Mike Tomlin it took him too long to move on from Matt Canada. I credit Sirianni. They had to move on from Sean Desai. They had to try something different. Now, they just happened to get the wrong guy.
Yeah, well, who hired Matt Patricia?
Well, he was.
Why was he on the staff to begin with?
It was kind of like last year. Last year, they brought in Fangio halfway through the year. They wanted a veteran backup in case Sean Desai didn't work.
I know, but Patricia is never. He's a guy who has not had any success outside of New England. And quite frankly,
at least he's had some success.
The year that your first Philadelphia Eagles with Nick Foles beat the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl, who was captaining that defense? I mean, it's Belichick, but it was Patricia who was the defensive coordinator, and Nick Foles sliced and diced him.
Yeah, but he's still better than Sean Desai. He's just as good as Sean Desai. Did you remember the Niners game a few weeks ago? There wasn't I don't think the Eagles held them under 5 yards on any single play of the whole game.
Okay, so if you don't think Nick Sirianni deserves any criticism here,
no, I do think
Howie Roseman is not getting fired. This guy has 100 lives. He's got the photos of the owner or something because, first of all, he has done a good job at times
he's
in drafting.
A master, yeah.
He's also lucked into some things. Let's not
like what.
Well, there were rumors that before Jalen Hurts became Jalen Hurts, there were big rumors that the Eagles were after Russell Wilson. I mean, what would have happened if Russell Wilson had been there? Like, it's not like Howie was, totally sold and knew exactly what he had with Hurts. That kind of bailed him out. Like, Hurts became this great guy, paid Carson Wentz. That ended up being a disaster. It hasn't been batting 1,000 here.
Well, you can't say because he flirted with Russell Wilson that the Jalen Hurts thing he doesn't get credit for.
No, I'm just saying sliding doors on this could have been a lot different.
Well, okay,
Deshaun
listen.
Watson?
Who cares about all that? He can't draft defense. He drafted Jalen Carter this year, who's really good. He drafted Jordan Davis last year, apparently, according to our friend Brian Baldinger, is overweight, has hit a second-year wall. He can't find us. He traded for Kevin Byard, who is clear. He got fleeced in that trade because he's washed. He has not been able to draft a lot of positions. But here's the bottom line. The Eagles lost the Super Bowl last year. Then they lost a bunch of free agents, and a lot of their key players got old. This is a personnel problem. This is not a Nick Sirianni problem. I mean, they're old, Maggie. Look at Brandon Graham. How long have we been covering Brandon Graham? You and I, when we first met each other, I remember going to watch, wow, that Brandon Graham's got some pop off the line.
But you know what? But I was told that this is actually a great mix of youth and experience. And this is one of the reasons why you could bring Jalen Carter with the red flags that he had before the Super Bowl, before the draft, pardon me. And this is why you could bring him in. And this is why, because you can execute the tush push, this is why you keep Jason Kelsey, even though he's been flirting with retirement for 3 years. And you drafted his backup 2.5 years ago. Like, I was told this is how you do it. And meanwhile, where's the veteran presence now? Like, when you really needed it, when it was a got-to-have-it game against the Arizona Cardinals, where's the veteran leadership? And, as far as your offense, that's not old. Jalen Hurts, I know along the offensive line, Kelsey and Lane Johnson, whatever, but A.J. Brown in his prime. Devontae Smith may not even hit his prime yet. Jalen Hurts just got paid staunchly in his early prime. Like, you're not old everywhere.
Yeah, but that offense might be young and effective, but they don't have the football in their hands because the defense cannot get the other team off the field. EJ was saying before that Jalen Hurts is partly to blame for this in the offense. Jalen Hurts against the Cardinals, they lost 35-31. He was 18 for 23 for 167 yards, 3 TDs, and 1 interception, which was a Hail Mary at the end. I mean, 18 to 23. The dude didn't miss anything. Well, they just never had the ball. There's nothing A.J. Brown can do. There's nothing Jalen Hurts can do. If you have a defense that cannot get the other team off the field, everything looks bad. So this is where the problem is. There's nothing about Jalen Hurts. It's not Sirianni. It's the defense.
EJ, you think that Hurts has to wear this?
Hurts has to wear this, but I think more than even Hurts, I have questions about the offense as a whole.
Yeah.
Because what we saw from Nick Sirianni was as soon as the defense, which had been struggling for a lot of this year, really cratered, he was very quick to throw Sean Desai completely under the bus.
Right.
Now we've seen the offense, which they scored 31 points in that last game, but one of it was a pick six from 99 yards.
Sure.
Okay, and they had 2 drives at the second half of the 3 that they had, only 3 to Perloff's point, that were essentially disasters. And he's thrown himself in front of Brian Johnson in terms of any criticism.
Right.
Cowboys game, offense was terrible. The game after that, Seahawks, we all complained about, Hurts being sick, and that's why they were terrible. Like, at what point do we say, hey, this offense is supposed to be maybe the best in the NFL, isn't operating in that way right now? And it's not helping the defense at all.
Compared to the defense, they're the greatest show on turf. They're number 8 in the league in offense, and they're basically the last half of the season, they've been number 32 in defense.
But you're talking about, you're playing against the Cardinals, and you're playing against the Seahawks. These are not teams you're talking about saying, oh, these are the best defenses in the NFL, okay? Like, okay, you'll be able to put some yards up against those teams. The Giants were one of those games. Okay, you put up yards against the Giants. Who doesn't put up yards against the Giants? In the games they really have needed, the offense is not showing up.
Yeah.
Take the San Francisco game. Like, what show up was there? San Francisco scored on their first 4 drives. I mean, and was running it down their throat. I'm telling you, Jalen Hurts' flaw is he can't run anymore. His running average is way, way down. He looks like he's been injured. I'm sure he's getting knee surgery the day the season's over. But he has been passing the ball efficiently when he gets a chance. Just give him a chance. But I don't understand.
Well, there was something about the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Hurts is actually, his numbers are really good.
There was something about the Eagles early on in the season where they became this second half team. And it was like, it doesn't matter. The first halves can look lackadaisical. They can look disjointed. But this is a second half team, and that has all gone away. 855-212-4CBS. This is great for the Cowboys, by the way. I mean, Cowboys got a little help here with the Lions at the end of the game, no doubt. But, I mean, all they have to do is beat the Washington Commanders on the road, granted. I know Dallas is not great on the road. But Philadelphia handed them the number 2 pick. So what is that, or number 2 seed? What does that mean? That means 2 playoff home games for the Dallas Cowboys. Is there any team in the NFL who benefits more from having a home game than the Dallas Cowboys? Look at the splits. They never lose at home. They're bad on the road. It's like by a mile. I know you hate the Dallas Cowboys. They're your hated rival forever. You red carpeted them 2 playoff wins.
That's all. The Eagles aren't even in this conversation, though, because even if the Eagles were the 2 seed and they had beat Arizona, they're still going out fast in this playoffs. I mean, honestly, if they say the Eagles won, let's do this hypothetical, and they're the number 2 seed, does the odds of them getting the Super Bowl change at all? No. This 2-5 for the Eagles are going out fast.
But you would have probably liked to have had those home games. Yeah.
No, it doesn't. No, I'm saying that wouldn't matter. I don't care if they're home or away. This Eagles defense is not winning anything in the playoffs. They're not even coming within 3 touchdowns of the Niners.
But if you're telling me that they had no chance to go to the Super Bowl.
No chance.
Then somebody's got to wear something.
Yeah,
this is a team that was the runner-up to the Super Bowl champions last year. They should have won that game last year. And now you're a year later where you still have 11 wins, and you're saying they have no chance to win the Super Bowl?
No chance.
Somebody has got to wear this.
Especially, Jade, great point, because you haven't had a catastrophic injury.
Right.
Like, if your quarterback gets hurt or is out for the season, I mean, Hurts missed time last year, hasn't missed time this year. Like, there has to be a head that's going to roll, and it's going to be on the defensive side. But
there's not even, I mean, the head's already rolled. I mean, John Desai's upstairs. Obviously someone's got to wear it. They need 4 new defensive backs. They need to really jump on this personnel, and they don't need to do anything offense. They need to put every draft pick, every free agent signing has to go in that back 7.
And it's just when Jalen Hurts' contract is about to get way more expensive. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. You are welcome to weigh in on the Philadelphia Eagles. You're handling it quite well.
I've given up. I mean, what is handling? You're already talking about it. The post-mortem. We're in post-mortem stage. Honestly, I think if you put a uniform on me and you match me up one-on-one with Reed Blankenship or whoever's trying to cover me,
you'll be in a body bag,
whoop them. No. I will fly past that dude. He is so slow. He can't cover anybody. There's so many problems. You know how you are with your own team. You tend to pick on the cornerbacks who get burned.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't even find a guy in the Eagles who's playing up to par on defense. I would probably just... Anybody who's not on the defensive line, just cut them the day the season's over and bring in all new players.
855-212-4CBS. We also have some amazing audio. Dan Campbell getting very defensive about his decision to continue to go for 2 rather than kick the extra point and go to overtime against the Dallas Cowboys. Getting very chippy for the Lions head coach. You got to hear this. We're going to play it for you next. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff. Again, 855-212-4CBS. We say a good morning to the Weedos and the coffee drinkers in the chat. YouTube.com/CBS Sports Radio. Twitch.tv/CBS Sports Radio. We're back in a moment.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Stream the NFL on Westwood One for free. Sponsored by AutoZone. All season long, you can listen to every Westwood One broadcast of the NFL live on the NFL app by asking Alexa to open Westwood One Sports or on the Odyssey app. Get in the zone, AutoZone. AutoZone's free battery testing and charging is available for free at your local AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply. Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. I have a tough decision ahead. Very tough decision.
Jury duty again? You're almost done.
I'm almost done. I have 3 more days of that, or 2 more days, whatever.
Guilty.
So if you were listening to the first segment, I've given up on my Eagles this year. It's done. It's over. The season's. I need a new team. Am I allowed to pick a new team?
All right, well, there's rules about this.
Wait, what are you talking about?
There are rules about this, and they're very staunch. I've tried to explain these to you before, and you kind of you give it the wave of the hand. I think you can pick another team.
Yes.
But you can't, they're your secondary team. You can't claim lifelong fandom. Okay. You can't go to the parade if they win.
I can't paint my face red for a Chiefs game.
And you can't pick somebody in the NFC. You are an Eagles fan. I've said this before when you're a Philadelphia Phillies fan and then you try to root for the Cubs or something. I'm like, you can't do that. You have to switch leagues. It's a must.
Yeah. So my phone has a Sixers thread and an Eagles thread. Everyone in the Eagles thread is talking about the draft and talking about who we should root for. And the team that everyone is jumping on is the Cleveland Browns. And I think that it's not just Eagles fans. I think a lot of people are joining that bandwagon. I think even you've been tempted by that bandwagon.
I can't because I'm a Bills fan and the Browns are in the AFC. So that violates Maggie's rules of fandom.
Okay, but I want to be a Chiefs fan. I don't want to be a Browns fan.
That's so lame.
You cannot be a Chiefs fan.
What are you talking about?
That's another rule. I'm going to start writing these down. You also cannot be jump on the bandwagon of the reigning Super Bowl champion or champion.
But they're down right now. If I was really weak, I'd be a Ravens fan right now. I think that would be the weak move. Picking the Chiefs now is actually risky move.
Forget it. But he can't handle this. I try to lay out these rules, and he's going to get it wrong every time.
He should pick a team that's eliminated.
Wait, I can't pick the ball. If I can't pick the Chiefs, can I pick the Ravens?
No.
Why don't you still be an Eagles fan?
I am an Eagles fan, but it's not happening this year. It's not happening this year.
You're in the playoffs. You cannot jump to another team until your team is eliminated. At least let's wait for that.
Yeah,
it's over.
True.
They're eliminated.
How do you wait?
It's over.
We're doing this again. We did this thing with the Phillies where it was Diamondbacks make it to the championship. Whatever. They win. That's great for me.
Right.
You're the Chiefs.
No.
Is there no sanctity? Is there no pride?
I felt
you lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Get a spine.
I felt real grief for the Eagles' demise this year. This really bothered me. The Phillies, I don't care. That's house money. That's house money. The Phillies shouldn't even be there. The Eagles, I already been through the 7 stages of grief. I'm ready to move on.
Your 7 stages of grief lasts 7 minutes. We didn't even know you went through it. We sit with you every single day.
You guys know what I'm talking about as a fan. Do you really think that I should put myself out there where I can feel the heartbreak of losing to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the first round? I don't want any part of that. This is over.
You have to take the yin with the yang.
No.
You've got to take the bad with the good. You can't just be there for the parades or, in Philly's case, the runner-ups. You've got to sit there through the misery.
Well, you're a Bills fan, and you're the most cynical fan I know. You expect them to lose every single game. You thought Easton Stick was going to throw for 400 yards, and the Chargers were going to beat them. Yeah, and
pretty damn close.
They're going against a decrepit, injured Dolphins team, and they're desperate to win. They're going to win this game, and you cannot accept that.
This is the difference, though, between me and you. I could say, all right, if once the Bills, if they get eliminated, I think that the Lions are a good story. I root for the story. I'm not jumping on to say, I'm now a Lions fan. Hand me the Hawaiian blue shirt. That's crazy to me. I can say, this would be nice if this team won or whatever. But I'm not claiming now to be a fan of that team. That's where you and I differ. I'm a fan of who I'm a fan of, period, full stop. I mean, it makes me feel and sound old. I know that's not how kids today do it, but that's how it feels right to me.
If you want to jump on a player, we're allowing that now because everybody jumps to I'm a LeBron fan, I'm a this fan. Right. So you wanted to jump to a lot of folks are like, hey, I want to see Lamar do well. I root for Lamar Jackson. So I want
Joe Flacco.
Right. So
no, I can't. No. I said no, I'm not. Everyone wanted to go on the Browns. I'm like, if you're not watching the Browns, Joe Flacco is throwing so many risky passes. He's not playing. I'm not into Joe Flacco
he throws
at all.
Hospital balls.
No, they wanted the Cleveland Browns. They wanted the Browns. I want the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are playing possum. But everyone's down on the Chiefs. I think they're on the table right now. What are you talking about? They can't catch a football.
Here's the thing. People are down on people are down on the Carolina Panthers. People are down on the Arizona Cardinals. People are really down on the Chiefs. They just happen, their offense isn't as explosive. They're still going to be the 3 seed.
If people don't think they can win a Super
Patrick
Bowl.
Mahomes.
I am not hearing a lot of...
It's not the right levels of down here. There's different degrees.
I'm not hearing a lot of people saying the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl. In fact, Maggie's Buffalo Bills have better odds to win the Super Bowls in Vegas. I know you keep saying they screw up the Bills. Yeah, people are into the Bills. People are into the Ravens. Obviously, they're awesome. I don't think anyone's in the Chiefs right now, and that's why I think that I have every right to go right in there.
No, but go pick them to win the Super Bowl. You're trying to be a fan. That's a totally different thing. You're talking about the betting odds for the Chiefs.
Who doesn't like Patrick Mahomes?
We do, but you're
Eagles
not
fans.
Yeah, you shouldn't like them.
No.
Kept you from a Super Bowl. Exactly.
Yeah, but if you have to lose a Super Bowl, I'd rather lose it to Mahomes than almost anyone else.
Man, we are getting to a sad level here. Andrew Bogish has some headlines.
No,
Good
thank
morning.
you.
Andrew Bogish is exiting the studio now.
This is gross.
Headlines are sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save nearly $750 on average. Call or click today and find out if we could save you hundreds on your car insurance.
Okay.
It takes a lot to lead with the Jazz and Pistons on a Thursday morning, but here we go.
138, 135, 4.4 seconds to go. Alec Burks got to let it fly here. Got a bump.
He got it. He's got it. He got it.
Alec Burks has just sent it to overtime.
That's from Pistons Radio. The Alec Burks running three was the fourth triple in the last 40 seconds of regulation in this game. But all it did for Detroit was delay another loss. The Jazz eventually winning 151-148. Monty Williams' crew has now dropped 30 of 31.
Our guys gave everything they had tonight. And, it's just tough to have to try to figure out how to play defense when people are just running into you the whole night. So I just think it's a tough way to play basketball.
Blame the refs.
And adjust in game.
Yeah.
Blame the refs on this one. You've lost 30 of the last 31. Those refs are really hosing us out there.
First 29 were on us. This one was not.
Talk about a guy that needs to change teams.
All right. Did anyone know Alec Burks? When you said Alec Burks has the three, I didn't know which team Alec Burks was on. Isn't he on the Jazz?
No, he's on the Pistons.
Okay.
Now. Yeah.
I only know he's on the Pistons because the Knicks trade all their players to the Pistons. They have like 4 former Knicks. It's crazy.
It's funny if he was shooting on the wrong basket.
Oh, did Alec Burks do a tour with the Knicks?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The Knicks, Tom Thibodeau loved him, played him at point guard, even though he's been a shooting guard his entire life.
I like that call by the radio guys there. Just, play-by-play dudes, I'm sure, Bogish, you do this. Like, you're trying to come up with your signature tagline, like Shazam, yeah, bang, all this stuff. You, rack your brain over your tagline. Just have it be,
Just yell.
Just yell.
Got it. He's got it. He got it.
I guess that's the color guy, but still. Don't you have to come up with anything sophisticated.
Nope, just noises. Not even a word.
Wait, who is that guy yelling?
I don't know anymore.
That was the Incredible Hulk.
Was that the Broncos guy or the?
No, but it's the Pistons. It's Pistons
Radio.
Radio.
And it used to be Rick Mahorn, but that doesn't sound like Rick.
No, Rick Mahorn's now the front office, right?
Yeah.
Of the league.
No chance that's Rick Mahorn.
The 148 points, by the way, the most the Pistons have ever scored in a loss. The Hawks outscored the Thunder 141-138, snapping OKC's 5-game win streak. The Pacers beat the Bucks for the 4th time this season, 142-130, and the Cavs trounced the Wizards 140-101. So Cleveland, Indiana, Atlanta, Utah, and Detroit, 5 teams scoring 140 or more last night, the most in a single NBA day.
It looks like it is Rick Mahorn. I got him confused with Joe Dumars. Get your Pistons enforcers correct.
Yeah, no, but that's not
Joe
Rick's...
Dumars is in the league office.
Can they play now?
But that doesn't sound still like Rick to me. I know Rick's voice. That doesn't sound like Rick.
According to the NBA.com/Pistons.
28 straight losses. You may sound.
He might have quit in the middle, like after loss 17. He might have said, "I'm not doing this
anymore." He's got it. He got it.
Men's top 25 action included Seton Hall taking down number 23 Providence 61-57, and the UConn women hammered Creighton in a meeting of ranked Big East teams 94-50. But the game of the night might have been in Foggy Bottom.
Richardson probes, gets down low, whips around the passage of fame and door. Nothing but net from the left corner. 114-110 in the Fordham Rams, a 2-possession game.
That's Miles Grossman, Colin Locker on the legendary WFUV as Fordham outlasted GW in the Maggie Bogish Bowl, 119-113 in triple overtime. Now, this was the double or nothing bet. So since my Rams won, Maggie's got to wear her leotard at Super Bowl Radio Row.
I was going to say, was this the Brazilian wax bet, or was this the wrestling
Thank
single
goodness,
bet?
4-1.
I'm a loser no matter what.
All right, Fordham.
Lamar
I didn't
Jackson.
realize how much was on the line last
Right?
night. Me sleeping like a baby, not even realizing I've got to wear a wrestling singlet now in front of the entire NFL.
You're welcome.
Shoot.
Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Brock Purdy among the frontline players sitting out meaningless games in Week 18. Purdy's also one of 9 Niners picked for the Pro Bowl. Nick Bosa, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle among the others.
Hey, I have a question for you. How has this worked in the past? Forgive me, I'm asking a question. I have no idea what the answer is. When a team gets all these players into the Pro Bowl, does that usually mean you win the Super Bowl or you don't? Is there a correlation?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
It usually means, though, that you don't end up going because you're in the Super Bowl, at least I feel like.
Yes.
And that's why this game is so out of whack and why it's not a game anymore.
Right.
Because
it's a skills competition.
And immediately there's 12 Pro Bowlers out because it's are too close to the Super Bowl. And they can't go.
I remember recently someone had the Ravens in 19 had 12 Pro Bowlers. There's been a bunch of teams. I don't think it helps actually. I don't think there's
I thought
any
your
coordination.
Eagles last year had everyone in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
And at least you made the Super
His
Bowl.
former team.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
The team he's
Perloff's-
already abandoned.
Yeah. Perloff,
Well, why am I going to root for them in the offseason when they're already out of it? It's done, guys. The Eagles are done.
You mean the postseason?
I'm just saying, no, it's done. I'm not even going to watch a game on Sunday. Anyway, but I don't think, I think Maggie, you bring up a good point. I think this is bad, having all these Pro Bowlers.
I thought there was something to this, but I don't know.
It's
Gotta
bad to
look
have
it up.
good players.
We need to do something with Perloff saying that he's done with the Eagles.
Yeah.
Like you are now standing on business that the Eagles are done. Like,
Did you guys watch the Cardinals game?
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
It was
all
terrible.
of our
Can
teams
you
have
see
played
that
bad games.
that team is booking golf dates in the postseason? They're done. Why should I stick around?
1, 2, 3, Cancun.
You should not be allowed to root for the Eagles.
What do we do to punish them for this?
I say we put all the team names in a hat. He has to root for the team name that comes out of the hat.
All 32.
All 32.
No. Give
for
me all the
next year.
playoff teams.
No,
what
next
is-
year.
are
If the
you- No,
Eagles,
I'm-
if
no.
the Eagles make it to the NFC Championship game and they beat the 49ers, there's no way I'm going to sit here and allow you to be like, yeah, Eagles, let's go. Super Bowl. Like, that's not happening.
Right. No,
That's fine.
That's the thing. You
Totally
cannot say one nice thing about them again this year, no matter what happens.
There's no chance that I'm going to say anything nice about them this year anyway.
Guys, I don't think the stakes are high enough here. I really think that we've got to put Perloff in a cage with a bald eagle or something. Like, this is the level that we have
that'll
to
work.
get to.
I think the government would disagree.
We need him to be in with a predator, a bird of prey.
More jury duty. That's another one.
Maybe make a call to the judge.
But I don't understand. Like, am I supposed to root for them? What do you do when your team stinks? You guys are New York sports fans, so you know
Here
this.
it
Like,
is.
what do you do?
Always goes back to that.
What do you do when your team is completely
don't.
disappointed? I'm asking.
You live with it. You have
Yeah.
to sit with it, and you have to still. I'm not saying you have to be totally delusional and think they're going to win, but you can't just jump off of them and say,
Right.
"Now I want to root for the Chiefs."
Right.
That's
Live in
being
misery.
fair weather.
Yeah,
still a
especially
Mets
before
fan.
you even play in the playoffs. Like, I mean, geez. I mean, if you guys lost and you said, all right, I'm done with them for the rest of the offseason, I'd say, okay, whatever. They have games to play still. They can still win the division.
You get to play the NFC South.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Do you think Mike Evans is we're going to be able to guard that dude?
Baker Mayfield has
The
broken
Eagles
ribs, probably.
might win a playoff game. Then, if they do win that game, they go to San Francisco.
That's what I'm saying. NFC Championship game.
I think
That's
Perloff.
my.
I think Perloff has to watch whatever that second round game is, that divisional round, in a cage with a bald eagle. I can't think of anything else right now.
Anyway, as bad as what you guys say I'm doing right now, it's still better than doing a head-to-head with a very good friend on your two teams and saying, okay, let's do my Bills versus your Eagles and give me 3 points. That was still
That
way
was
weaker.
awful. I mean, trust me. I'm still thinking about my Sweet Caroline rendition. That was
So are
pathetic.
we, unfortunately.
Brian Kelly, by the way, fired 4 defensive assistants yesterday at LSU, including coordinator Matt House. And the hockey score, as always, the Leafs got a 2-1 win in OT thanks to a goal from Austin Matthews. And now I'm done.
Bogish, thank you so much. Coming up, we've got quarterbacks playing for their jobs on Saturday and Sunday. We'll get to who next. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, morning show here on CBS Sports Radio. This portion of the program is sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Well, we know there's going to be a lot of quarterbacks who are not playing this weekend, Perloff, because they have nothing to play for.
Yeah.
So have fun watching Snoop Huntley and Blaine Gabbert and your boy Carson Wentz.
Oh,
We got
he's back.
A lot of backup quarterbacks this week. However, there are quarterbacks who could be playing for their jobs. EJ's going to throw out a quarterback. We'll tell you whether or not they're playing for their job this weekend. Maybe a little music. Sure, maybe. EJ, what do you have for us?
All right, so let's go to Seattle, where the Seahawks are playing for their playoff lives this weekend. Geno Smith, is he playing for his job this weekend?
I think so, and I think that I think there's a real chance there's a total change in Seattle.
Interesting.
I think I would suggest starting over. I'm sorry, I love Pete Carroll. I think he's a treasure in the NFL, but I would maybe just rip the Band-Aid and do a full rebuild, get in a new quarterback and a new coach.
Okay, I think that Geno is still going to be the starter going into next year. His cap hit goes up actually a little bit of a spike next year. But Geno has shown that he's gracious enough that even if you bring in another quarterback, he would serve as a great bridge quarterback. I mean, Geno Smith is, despite the fact, how far he's come, getting punched in the face by a teammate 100 years ago, now he's known as one of the great teammates, I think, in football right now. So I think he would be gracious as a bridge. The problem for the Seahawks is actually not on the offensive side of the ball. It's on the defensive side of the ball.
And Carroll's a defensive coach.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's enough to move on from him, but they got to think about the defense before the quarterback situation.
And also they have they have DK Metcalf and they drafted JSN. They have a really good receiving core. So I think you could look at this team and say, hey, we can be the greatest show on. We could be an amazing offense. I think Geno has a ceiling. He's 30. So I honestly would maybe try and trade up in the draft. I like your idea as a bridge quarterback, but they do have to start thinking ahead because
what about Drew Lock?
No. This version of the Seahawks, the best they're going to be is 10-7. They're not going to be a Super Bowl team. And what are we doing here otherwise?
Who's
All
next?
right. So let's go to a different quarterback. It's a little bit of a different kind of tint to this. So what about Mason Rudolph? Now, he's not actually normally the starting quarterback, but I mean, now maybe there's an opportunity for him. Right. So is he playing for his job as now the starting quarterback for the Steelers?
The Steelers have messed this up so badly right now that I don't think Mason Rudolph or Kenny Pickett are going to be the quarterback next year. I think they've got to go a totally different direction. I said yesterday, I thought this could be a Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson. I don't think they'd trade for Justin Fields just because the recent history of the Steelers would tell you no. But they have got to look at someone else in the draft. And I'm not saying that, like, the Kenny Pickett thing, I think that the ship has sailed. If he can't start now, and they're going to go with Mason Rudolph to be the hot hand in a game you have to win to keep your playoff hopes alive, that tells you everything you need to know about Pickett.
Yeah, but look at the Steelers. They're the famous loyal team. I think they're going to stick with Pickett. The other thing, too, Kirk Cousins, Steelers fans complain about being in this limbo where they can win enough games to keep Mike Tomlin around but not get to the Super Bowl. Kirk Cousins is the famous limbo quarterback. He'll win you 11 games but not win you a Super Bowl. So you're not bringing in Kirk Cousins. That's not going to help this. Kenny Pickett, what's the difference? I love Kirk Cousins. He's great in a certain kind of offense. I don't think he works in Pittsburgh at all. I think they're sticking with Pickett because that's how this franchise works.
No, that'd be lame because it's not that Cousins is all of a sudden this elite quarterback, but can he get the ball to your playmakers? I mean, that's what Mason Rudolph is doing. That's what Kenny Pickett could not do.
I think you need a new offensive coordinator. You saw that game against the Bengals when Kenny Pickett was in there. They only won 16-10, but they were moving the ball. Yeah. They got over 400 yards, and then they were moving the ball the next game against Arizona, and then Kenny Pickett got hurt, and it all fell apart.
It's win or you're in for the Buccaneers, and they got the lowly Panthers, so you better win. And that is the question we're asking for Baker Mayfield now. Is he playing for his job in Tampa?
Well, playing this week, and because obviously, if they don't win this week, that's a total disaster. But they're going to win, and they're going to advance to the playoffs. Baker Mayfield is the quarterback. I mean, look at his numbers. He's really, really good this year, and he's got great chemistry with those receivers. Why would you move on? Because you're not going to have a pick high enough to do anything here.
I think Baker is going to be the quarterback next year. I'm with Perloff on this one.
Yeah.
Just because I think there's an absence of good ideas. Now, here's the one thing I would do if I were the Tampa Bay Bucks. Right now, they're slated to pick 20th. In this draft, who could be there at 20? Is Michael Penix there at 20? Maybe not. Is Bo Nix? I don't know. Who's going to be there at 20? You might get a good quarterback because you're going to have the top of the draft with Caleb Williams and with Drake May and maybe Jaden Daniels, most likely. We'll see how Penix does in the championship game. Maybe he gets himself into the top 10. But there actually might be a good quarterback at 20. Again, Baker's your bridge guy, and maybe you're bringing someone along slowly.
Like you're bringing along Kyle Trask slowly.
Well, Trask was a little deeper in the draft, wasn't he?
He's a second-round pick. I just think that, yeah. I mean,
the thing about Trask is
bottom
Brady
line is,
showed up.
if you take a guy at 20, I guess then that's a real move. But
that was where Kenny Pickett got
You're
taken.
committing to Baker.
30.
Here's my bigger problem: are you committing to Todd Bowles? Because I like Todd Bowles as a person. I think we all do. But I think that he's way too defensive oriented. He's too conservative. So I think the fact that Baker's putting up these big numbers with that coach is double impressive.
If Baker at quarterback, is that attractive for an offensive-minded head coach to go take that job? I think yes, because you have Baker. You know he's going to be a leader.
Yeah.
Guys are going to like him in the locker room, stuff like that. But you can't think he's a long-term solution. So you're basically coaching Baker and then hoping to coach a young guy in a year or two.
I mean, Eric Bieniemy's put up big numbers with Sam Howell in Washington. I think Baker's better than Sam Howell. Yeah, I like what you're saying here. Get an offensive mind with that skill group there. Rashad White's played really well there. I think that's the formula. Why not do it? And then you don't have to commit. You don't have to put in Dak Prescott kind of money. You don't have to do 5 years,
No, not for
$200 million. So Baker gives you a lot of flexibility moving forward. And if they fall apart next year, get in next year's draft. Get Shedeur Sanders. That's my backup plan for everybody.
Not a bad plan.
So they wined and dined him to get him to New Orleans, but will he stay? Derek Carr does not control his own destiny in terms of getting the Saints to the playoffs, but he does have a big game this week against the Falcons at home. Is Derek Carr playing for his job in New Orleans?
Yes, absolutely. Now, it's punitive. Like, they really tied themselves a bit here to Carr, which was a bad idea. But, I mean, when's the last time the Saints had a good idea? It's been a minute. Right now, they'd be picking 13th in the draft. I think you are probably doing whatever you can to get up and try to get a quarterback. Are you going to go into another season with Carr and Jameis and do this, dance again? It's gotten you nowhere. And meanwhile, the defense keeps getting older and older. This is rough if you're a Saints fan. Like, where's the hope?
Derek Carr is a magician. He has this innate ability to play just well enough to make you think, maybe this can work with Derek Carr. That's why we famously call him the Bermuda Triangle of quarterback evaluation. And he shucked you right into that triangle. We're in a plane that's going down fast trying to evaluate because he has made some plays this year. You saw it last week. His numbers are not bad. He's a 94.7 rating. With Dennis Allen as a coach, I think that's actually impressive. I think he's handcuffed by a defensive coach as well. I think it's Derek Carr again. And honestly, I think Derek Carr has played well in moments this year, as he always does.
Yeah,
he always pulls us back in, Maggie.
That's the Derek Carr story. Plays well in moments. Also turns the ball over at really inopportune times. I want to get off the roller coaster with Derek Carr.
Yeah, you want to, but you can't. That's the thing about him. There's a centrifugal force that pulls us back in Derek Carr. And you know he's going back. As you mentioned, I think there is a cap hit.
It's bad.
And I don't know that the Saints at 13 are going to have that quarterback there.
I know Derek Carr told the Fox broadcast going into the game that this was, and I'm quoting, the worst he's ever felt in the NFL. The amount of injuries he's had this year, 2 concussions, cracked ribs. Let's hope he can just make it to a NFL season next year, regardless of where he's playing.
This is the cap hit next year, according to Spotrac, which is a website a lot of people use for this kind of stuff. $35.7 million with a dead cap hit of $52 million.
Oof. Good luck getting rid of that.
What were they thinking?
Oof. They were
for
competing.
Taysom Hill to come in on third down.
Were they competing against the Jets? I can't even remember what happened there for Derek Carr.
No, I think the Jets, I think that was a smoke screen. Right. They were waiting for Rodgers the whole time.
Taysom Hill, sick touchdown catch this week. Underrated. He's the Shohei Ohtani of football. We never talk about him. He is awesome.
We talk about Shohei every day.
No, we never talk about Taysom Hill. I'm saying, who else throws a 50-yard touchdown and has a 50-yard touchdown?
Got it.
And the fact that Jameis is still in the building. The Saints are quite a scene.
There we go. Those are some of the quarterbacks who have a lot to play for. So if you are thinking about placing bets this weekend, you might want to think about something.
I think we were doing a good job there, Maggie. We were getting solutions. Then you had to throw out Derek Carr. And, of course, everything got off the rails.
Just like,
Derek Carr is impossible.
The biggest threat in the AFC to the Baltimore Ravens. We'll tell you who it is. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
She once fell off a ski lift. He was called in for questioning. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Welcome to the show. The biggest threat to the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC. Welcome. It's Maggie Gray. It's Andrew Perloff hanging out with you on this Thursday. Got the last week of the regular season, Perloff. It's going to be a lot of teams resting. Of course, the Ravens will be resting pretty much everybody because they've locked up that number 1 overall seed, including Lamar Jackson, who will not be playing. But if you look at the rest of the AFC, and the Ravens at 13-3, they've taken out all comers, right? All the division leaders that they have played, they've beaten soundly, and none more convincingly than the Miami Dolphins last week, who they put an absolute shellacking on. So if there is going to be a team that is going to challenge the Ravens in the AFC, who is it?
I say don't overthink it. It's obvious. The defending champion Chiefs. This matchup would likely happen because the Chiefs are the 3 seed and the Ravens are the 1 seed. Would happen in the AFC title game. Now, the Chiefs are not playing like a team anywhere near the Ravens. Right now, the Ravens are the elite team.
Yep.
Obviously, keeping Lamar Jackson healthy is the number 1 priority for the Ravens. That's kind of tripped them up late in a lot of seasons. But the Chiefs, I think, are sort of a powder keg in the sense that they could explode. If their receivers start catching the ball, they're going to be much better. And also, Patrick Mahomes, when he wants to keep a play alive and really put his body out there in a playoff game, I know this is an Eagles fan.
Yeah, he'll do it.
He'll do it. So I think you haven't even seen the best of Patrick Mahomes. I think if it was an AFC title game and this is sort of everything on the line, I think Patrick Mahomes will extend plays and make the Chiefs a little better than they are right now offensively. Now, he needs help. There's no doubt about it. MVS is not playing well. They have receiving problems up and down the line. But I just think Patrick Mahomes, when he fully sells out to win a game, obviously is very, very dangerous.
Okay, I can see where you would get to that conclusion. It's not crazy. They still are the Chiefs. But I think there's a thought that the Chiefs through the playoffs are now going to just basically start running all their offense through Pacheco. Not all of it. You still have Mahomes. That'd be silly. But because you cannot trust this receiving core at all outside of Kelsey, like, you have to figure out what's going to work here. And Pacheco is really the only consistent thing when he's healthy that works for you. So, yes, will you have a Mahomes selling out and then through the running back in Pacheco? And could you maybe find a little bit more success?
And by the way, your defense has had a lot of moments this year. And I think that they could figure out a way to contain Lamar. They're a veteran coaching staff, a veteran defense. That would make me a little. If I'm Baltimore, I think Kansas City, and there's another defense that worries me too. I think Lamar is probably not going to own that defense like he's been doing to everybody else.
The team in the AFC who I think could actually give the Ravens the biggest threat is the Cleveland Browns. And I understand that Joe Flacco might not be scaring anybody right now. Like, are you waiting for him to turn into a pumpkin after this really, interesting sort of renaissance or rebirth for Joe Flacco? But I think because they're division rivals, the last time these two teams played, this was a 33-31 win. And granted, this is probably Deshaun Watson's one of his best games. And Lamar Jackson threw 2 picks in this game. To me, the Cleveland defense is the one defense, no disrespect to Kansas City, that can actually rival what the Ravens are doing. And yes, I worry a bit about the quarterback situation, but if anyone knows the Ravens, it's Flacco. He knows the DNA. He's part of the DNA. It's a very different team than when he was the quarterback. But if there's anyone who's got the institutional knowledge of John Harbaugh, if there's anyone who can at least kind of understands what's going on, someone who's played in that stadium, because you'll have to play in that stadium, Joe Flacco is that guy. And then add in how good this defense has been, Jim Schwartz able to confuse Lamar Jackson. I think weirdly the Cleveland Browns, not weirdly, they're an 11-win team, But even with this now, they're on to their 4th quarterback of the season. I think they're the biggest threat to the Ravens.
Yeah, but Cleveland's hot streak has been against pretty bad teams, and I'm going to throw one of my buddies under the bus here. They beat the Jets, means nothing. They beat backups with the Texans, Case Keenum and Davis Mills, in a game where the defense just tore apart a bad Houston team who all their wide receivers were out. Then they beat Chicago, okay, and they beat Jacksonville, who's really struggling. Yeah. So we haven't really seen them been tested against a team like Baltimore with Flacco at quarterback.
Right.
So I understand what you're saying. I do think it's funny. We're pointing to 2 veteran defensive coordinators, Steve Spagnuolo and Jim Schwartz, saying like, okay, they have a chance to figure out this Ravens offense. Possible. They could get, I don't know if confusing Lamar is the right word, containing him. Like, you got to make sure that he is not going to run on you in this playoffs. Because if you get your pass rush going, Lamar's going to run right by you. It's the oldest problem in the book. I don't think it's happening. I understand what you're saying. I just don't think Joe Flacco is, the way he's playing right now, it's good, but he's throwing so many dangerous passes, Maggie, and Baltimore is so opportunistic on defense. They're not dropping interceptions.
I get it, but at the same time, the way that your defense is so good, they can make up for maybe a mistake or two that Joe Flacco might make. Now, again, we've seen that, and it's been against lesser opposition. I'll give you that. But that's the great equalizer here, is just how good this defense has been, how they're getting healthier at the right time. Offensive line for the Browns is getting healthier at the right time. But again, going back to the defense for Cleveland, they can make up for your mistakes. Now, EJ, I know, is a big Miami Dolphins believer, as am I still. Like, I gotta see them dead before I believe they're going to be dead. I always think that the Dolphins are holding something like up their sleeve. I believe that their coach is smart. The fact that his bread and butter is the run game matters this time of year. All of that stuff. Would you say Miami is the biggest threat, even now with their defensive injuries?
Yeah, that would be my team, and the Chubb injury is devastating. But I think what I like about this team is, number one, speed kills and speed travels. As long as you're not dealing with slop weather where the conditions are bad, it could be cold. It doesn't matter. You're still going to be really fast. Okay, so you're always going to have that speed that's going to be dangerous. The other thing, too, I think that we lost sight of in that last game, you had no Mostert, you had no Waddle, so you're adding more guys next time maybe you play the Ravens. And I would give Mike McDaniel a puncher's chance going against the Ravens defense after having already seen what the Ravens want to do to them. Because the Ravens had a great game plan. They really snuffed them out after they started off the game pretty strong, the Dolphins. But after that, they really adjusted well. McDaniel now has 4 quarters to say, okay, this is how they covered us. This is what they did. He's a wild kind of wacky mind. I can see him coming in next time around having a much better game plan.
Well, think about it, right? You just got the doors blown off of you. So it's fresh. It stings. You just took the Ravens' best punches. Do they have, do the Ravens have if you adjust, if it's possible, can the Ravens adjust to your adjustments? Like, we talk about this on the flip side with the Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers. That happened earlier in the season. San Francisco blows them out. Do we think if they met again, it would be another blowout? I don't think so. Close game?
I do.
Really?
I just think the Dolphins injury report is so long, and look at their depth chart. It's got red all over it because they lost Bradley Chubb. Xavier Howard's probably not playing this weekend, which is an important game. Mostert's been in and out. David Long's been in. Everybody. There isn't just barely anybody who's staying healthy. Waddle doesn't seem like he can get through a quarter without limping off the field. So it's purely an injury factor. I just don't think they're healthy enough. That losing Chubb is so big because you have to have elite defensive line play against Baltimore, right? You cannot. If you let Lamar sit back there, which he has been doing in certain games, there's just no chance. So it's purely a function of injuries. I mean, that has to make you nervous, EJ, as a Dolphins backer here.
Yeah, I hate even saying that as a Jet fan, but the defense is what concerns me a little bit, and that's the biggest thing. But I go back to the offense. I go back to, hey, if this team had to go against a shootout, because let's say Lamar, the way they're playing, the way the Ravens are clicking, you might not have a chance to keep that team under 20 points or 30 points. Who is the team that if that game gets into 31-34, 37-34, 36-37, who's the team that I feel like can hang with them? It is not the Chiefs. No. That offense is too inconsistent. Their receivers are too unreliable. That team, to me, is the Miami Dolphins, though.
Yeah, I mean, the body language at the end of the last game for the Dolphins against the Ravens, don't they seem defeated? I mean, Bradley Chubb going off in that car and just
playing in garbage time with down 30. He should have never been on the field.
Yeah, just all that negative momentum. And I love Mike McDaniel, but he clearly made a mistake on this Bradley Chubb thing. I just felt like all that 70-20 win, all that juice and all that fire seems to be gone. Speaking of fire, did you see Tyreek Hill's house caught on fire yesterday?
Talk about bad omen. Thankfully, everyone's all right.
It just seems like I love the way that team is set up. It just seems like all the things they do well is being neutralized because of health.
Okay, but here's the thing. Do you really think this is the last we've heard of Mike McDaniel this year? This is somebody who other coaches have called innovative, doing things that we haven't seen. You know, I just don't think this is the last we've heard of him. Like, if he really is the real deal, and by the way, you got Vic Fangio as a defensive coordinator, so you probably have the highest paid and maybe best defensive coordinator in the entire league outside of Dan Quinn. This is where you really got to make the money, right? This is why they brought you in, to try to overcome these deficiencies. So we want to hear from you at 855-212-4CBS. The team right now that you think could give the Ravens the most problems. Is it the Chiefs? Is it the Browns? Is it the Miami Dolphins?
Wait, we haven't mentioned one team that everyone else is talking about. Weird. I mean, I think if you put this out to the audience, I think a lot of people are going to say the Buffalo Bills.
They're not in the playoffs yet. We're talking about teams that have already clinched a playoff spot, which is Cleveland, Miami, and Kansas City. Everything else is up for grabs.
Oh, come on. But everybody else is saying the Buffalo Bills, and you must hear the noise.
I do hear the noise, and quite frankly, I don't understand it. I
you
think,
never do.
Well, I think it's I finally realize, I think, what it's like to maybe be a Dallas Cowboys fan a little bit, where people just like think something about your team and you have to ask them, like, are you watching the games? Like, do you just kind of assume something about the team and you're not really watching the games? Because think about so here's what has to happen, right?
No, we're not watching the Bills-Patriots because it's impossible to watch.
I'm glad you didn't watch it because it was ugly as sin. And I'm glad people didn't watch the Charger game because that was disgusting.
But they watched them destroy the Dallas Cowboys. Everybody watched that game, so that's what everybody knows.
Okay. Everyone watched that one. A Dallas Cowboy team
that was 2 weeks ago. It's not like it was a year ago.
Well, here's the problem with that game. It was an outlier. I'm not talking about from the Dallas point of view. I'm talking about from the Buffalo point of view. This is a game where Josh Allen said it felt like he was in the group project, did not contribute, and got an A. This was the total outlier. For some reason, the Dallas Cowboys went to Buffalo with no intention of winning that game. I'm sorry. That was more on Dallas no-showed. They had the big game the week before.
Oh, yeah.
They no-showed. They had Miami coming up. Whatever. I don't know why they no-showed that game. I think they got off the plane. It was cold.
Yeah, it was cold. They don't like that.
Okay.
I agree. The Cowboys had no interest in being in Western New York. But the Bills have won 5 of 6, and that loss was at Philadelphia in overtime, and a bit of a fluky loss. I'll admit that. It's an Eagles fan. So, I mean, you can't ignore this momentum. They're the hot team. That's what you want to be coming in the playoffs. I think you don't. I'm telling you, these teams that are resting everybody might live to regret it. You want the team that's been playing for their lives for a month. That is a formula that has worked many, many times.
It is a formula that's worked. Teams get hot, but you've also had to put so much stress on yourself because you've basically been playing playoff games for the last month. And here's the thing
I take that formula over resting.
Okay, well, here's the thing about resting. This is why the number 1 seed now basically has such an advantage going to the Super Bowl, is because you do get that 1 week of rest.
Yeah, give me the Aaron Rodgers Packers. I like the desperate team.
So here's the thing about teams on winning streaks. It doesn't always mean that you're super hot. Like, we saw the Denver Broncos won 5 in a row.
Yeah, they were kind of hot.
Turns out the only reason I think they were winning is because they went to the quarterback and said, if you don't take an injury, cut your injury guarantees, we're going to bench you. I don't know. Sometimes you can get a little lucky, and that works. But for me, for the Bills, here's another thing that has to happen. And we're talking about the teams that could really challenge the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC. You need Pittsburgh. You have to beat Miami in Miami, which is not a given. But then if you don't beat Miami, you would need Pittsburgh to lose, and you need Jacksonville to lose. Jacksonville's playing the Titans, who are better served now to be looking at their draft position than winning this game. And Pittsburgh is going to be playing a desperate game against a Ravens team that is playing none of their starters, basically. So you have no safety net here.
You're going to beat the Dolphins. I'm not doing that to jinx you. Honestly, the Dolphins have a lot of problems for this game. Like
last
a
time
lot
you
of
said
guys
that, by
are
the
not-
way,
nobody's practicing for Miami at all. Like Teron Armstead's not practicing.
shouldn't.
The Dolphins might even rest to some extent in this game because they are in a desperate physical shape.
Last time you said you weren't jinxing Maggie, by the way, it was Jalen Monroe then fumbled the ball and somehow
Yes.
Michigan had a miracle comeback
And
victory.
now EJ and I have to wear wrestling singlets.
Yes.
So-
That was not a jinx. That was a reality. It looked like Alabama was going to win the game. Everybody else said it. Why was that a jinx? Just because you guys lost the
6-point
bet?
game, 1 possession, fourth quarter. Oh, game's over.
Yeah.
I'm wearing the wrestling singlet.
It was a master class in reverse jinxing by Andrew Perloff. 855-212-4CBS. Meanwhile, EJ and I have some decisions to make on this singlet.
Sad day for us.
Both options are bad. Like, if we go with the classic high school wrestling singlet, I think we're going to look silly. If we go with like a WWE style singlet, we're going to look silly.
But you can really buy you have like pants on the bottom and the thin straps. You could buy those.
Sure.
I have not seen them online. I tried because I've been shopping for singlets. I assumed the game was over. To look like the tomato can who gets beat up by the superstar, that is not as easy to find as you think it is.
We'll make it happen.
But I did find, I tell you, I've found some weird things. There's a lot of leather, low-cut singlets,
Yeah.
EJ.
Yeah, keep that safe search on when you do that. next time.
Yeah,
Honestly,
it's funny.
The weird thing about trying to buy a wrestling singlet these days is like there's ones that have odd cutouts.
The weird thing about trying to buy a wrestling singlet these days.
Yeah, these days. Rich is in Chicago, is up here on CBS Sports Radio. Hi, Rich. Good morning.
Hey, guys. Hey, gals. 2 things. I told your producer, since you guys are on the subject about who you like in the Super Bowl, I think the Ravens are clear-cut in the AFC, but I like the Niners in the NFC, and I like the Niners to win it all.
Way to go out on a limb there, Rich, with the 2 number 1 seeds.
Well, no, I've had them for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, and here's why. Lamar Jackson has a playoff record kind of like Kirk Cousins. So, to me, the easy play is, you're right, to take the Ravens to be the AFC champs, because I think they're better than the Chiefs and really better than anybody who would be considered a contender.
Yeah.
But look, he's got a history of fading, and I don't think, when you have a long-term history, it's not an aberration. I think that's a problem. But what the real point I wanted to make, and I said I'd get into this quickly, is I've got some intel for you guys about what the Bears are likely to do with the number 1 pick. Which
Call it
is
now.
Really,
Call it now, Rich. What are they doing?
all right, this is really new news. 4 weeks ago, both Eberflus and Fields were gone, right?
Yeah.
They've decided, because of the recent resurgence of the Bears and really Fields, that they're holding Fields and Eberflus is coming back. Okay, so given that, the next 4 teams behind them all need quarterbacks.
Right.
So if you keep Fields, the quarterback carousel, which according to Pro Football Focus, they have 9 guys listed, ranked 9, that they think will go in the first or second round, which I think is crazy. That may be the deepest quarterback draft ever in the last 30 years. But the Bears are going to trade down. They could go as low as 4 or 5, still get who they want, and fleece whoever takes their pick like they did to Carolina last year. They could get a position player, their draft pick, and next year's one, or they could get a couple of ones. Who knows?
Yeah, Rich,
But
this
the
is what Perloff said they should do, by the way. We were talking
you got
about
me
this
sold,
yesterday.
Rich. I love it.
I said
No,
I think they need to take Caleb Williams no matter what.
I don't. Caleb Williams, to me, he's another Justin Fields project. He's 5'11". He's good.
He's 6'2".
He's good. But
Oh, there's no way Caleb Williams is 6'2". I mean, he's probably in between both. I don't think he's 5'11" either. I think he's over 6 feet.
He's listed at 5'11".
No.
I actually looked it up because I thought he was bigger than that. But
He's
He's listed at 6'1".
he's thick though. That's the thing about Caleb Williams. He's got a big lower body, which is good.
It's kind of like the Kyler Murray thing.
He does,
He's
but
taller.
you know what? The Bears are dying to pick up either the Ohio State receiver Harrison,
Yeah.
or the LSU receiver.
Neighbors,
is
yeah.
viewed, Neighbors is viewed as tough as this guy. the Bears are going to go receiver. Now, they won't obviously pick them at 4 or 5, but they could get them with their own pick at 9 or 10. They could pick up a really good receiver. They're looking for offensive lineman, an edge rusher, and another receiver. So
all right,
watch
Rich.
out for the Bears.
Well,
It's interesting.
We appreciate the intel. Thank you so much for calling in. I mean, he's right about, listen, Rich has got some good information, but he's right about this, right? Behind Chicago with that number 1 pick, you're talking about quarterback needy teams. Washington, New England, Arizona.
Probably.
New York
Maybe
Giants.
not. Arizona's talking up a big game on liking Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Gannon said it the other day.
Maybe you move down. Giants, and then you get into Chargers, Tennessee, Jets, so that's a little bit less. But if you're talking about Washington, New England, and the New York Giants, I mean, of course these are teams that need quarterbacks. Right?
Absolutely. I have actually the first point he made about Lamar Jackson having playoff failures in the past. I have a perfect comp for Lamar's postseason lack of success, and I'll share it after the break because I think this sums up exactly where Lamar is.
Perfect. 855-212-4CBS. You'll hear Perloff with his perfect Lamar Jackson postseason comp. Also, the greatest threat to the Ravens in this postseason is who in the AFC? 855-212-4CBS. Perloff says the Chiefs. I say the Browns. EJ says the Miami Dolphins. We've got more for you in just moments. It's Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. All right, Maggie, I have a few bedrock takes in sports.
Okay.
One of them, college football players should get paid, like basic things, you lean on. One that no one likes, but I still maintain, they should vote on MVPs after the season is over. I don't understand why everyone makes it a regular season award. It irritates me every year, and I hate when a guy wins an MVP then flames out in the playoffs. But there are a couple guys who've done it and then later on won a championship. So Giannis won 2 MVPs.
Yep.
Didn't win either year. The next year, he didn't win the MVP, won a title. Nikola Jokic won 2 MVPs, finally didn't win it, won a title. So Lamar Jackson's about to win his second MVP. If he wins 2 MVPs and does not win a Super Bowl, I think people are going to rip him and be like, "Oh my God, you're quote unquote a 2-time MVP."
Right.
But look, you haven't done anything in the playoffs. And people like to criticize Lamar Jackson for his postseason failures. Maybe rightly so. There's been a lot of injury luck. But I think he reminds me a lot of those guys. He's sort of like them, a humble superstar. I think even if he wins the MVP here, he could easily win it in the next 2 or 3 years and prove, because I don't think he is a postseason failure. I think they just haven't done it yet. I think there's a good chance he'll win the second MVP. I do not want, if they flame out in the playoffs, I do not want to hear this, "Oh, he's not that good,"
right,
because he's a 2-time MVP. I think it'd be smarter to vote after the season. Like if Brock Purdy goes on a hot run and the Niners win the Super Bowl and destroy the Ravens, then I think Brock Purdy should get MVP.
Got it.
That's how I would do it. So I just don't, I'm already saying, jumping out, Giannis did it, Jokic did it, Lamar could end up doing it. Do not kill Lamar if he wins 2 MVPs and doesn't win the Super Bowl, because there's a great chance that he could do it in the future, just like those guys did.
Okay, and listen, Lamar's young enough. Those guys are young enough.
They were both Jokic and Giannis were very young when they won their MVPs.
Right, of course, young enough where your career is, still to be determined. However, there is a reality that we do judge quarterbacks on postseason wins. Now, whether that's right or wrong, when we look back on legacy stuff, generally that's how quarterbacks, because we're not going to talk about yardage. We're not going to talk about completion percentage. Like, we don't do that because the rules are always changing and generally changing to help the quarterback. So what do we define them by? Postseason success.
Right. But you know how this is going to work. If Lamar wins this MVP and does not win the Super Bowl, no one's ever going to vote for him for MVP again. That's just because they're going to say like, "Oh, he's been a letdown as MVP." So anyway, I just think that we overrate it because it's a regular season award. It really shouldn't even mean that much. Just don't kill Lamar just because he's going to win the MVP here. That's all I'm saying.
855-212-4CBS. We've been asking who is the biggest threat to the Ravens in the AFC. I said the Cleveland Browns. Perloff says the Kansas City Chiefs. EJ thought the Miami Dolphins. Phil is in Youngstown, Ohio. Morning, Phil. How are you?
Good. How are you guys?
Fantastic. What do you have for us?
So I agree with you, Maggie, about the Browns. Not trying to be biased being a Browns fan, but if you just look at the resume and the signature wins throughout the season, The Browns have beaten the Colts, the Texans, the Jaguars, the Ravens, and the Niners, who, many have Niners and Ravens as 1 and 2 in the power rankings. If you just compare it to the Dolphins, they only have one win over a team above 500, which is Dallas.
Right.
So I just don't see how people consider, Miami or Kansas City. So I just think, resume-wise, going into the playoffs and with this resurgence of, Wacko for Flacco, I just think, they're on a roll going into the playoffs. But also, before I let you guys go, for singlet ideas, so I'm a wrestling coach for over 16 years, and if you want ideas, there's this website called Rudis.com, and Rudis is the #1 wrestling apparel company in the United States. And the singlet ideas are pretty cool. They're not probably the stigma of the old singlets that people think. So if you lost this bet, just go to Rudis.com. You and your coworker who have to wear the singlet, I think you guys won't be disappointed.
Okay, so Phil, you're telling me that there's been advancements made in the singlet industry, and
oh yeah,
okay,
oh yeah.
Well, I think Phil, thank you so much for the call. I think the point of the bet is that we are supposed to look rather silly. I don't think there's any advancements in singlet technology that is going to help EJ and myself. We're not wrestlers. We weren't born to be. I'll speak for both of us. I don't think we have this body type.
No, definitely not.
Whether it's me or you.
I'm talking for myself.
Well,
sure.
I'll talk for myself. I mean, I just don't. I don't think this is our look.
I think EJ's in more trouble than you. I think that goes without saying.
Because EJ's also got. There's
He's a guy.
You're a guy.
You wear
Also,
a bikini on the beach. Like, you guys are used to wearing nothing.
I wear one piece.
I'm also way more hairy than people think.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, we're all about to find out.
Bogus just spit up his coffee.
Hair is happening. Yeah, that's happening.
Oh, good hair.
Don't apologize for it,
Oh, I'm not apologizing. I'm just letting everybody know.
Whatever.
Put it on. Put it on.
Warning.
I have to step out for a second.
I also, which is why we talked about waxing yesterday.
I have to step out and talk to the computer people. I just went to Brutus.com. I think he was leading us astray.
I think you misheard him.
I thought he said root us.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm on Brutus.com, and there's some weird stuff going on there. Sounds about right. I thought he said Brutus.
Wait, is it like the mascot for the Buckeyes in some sexually suggestive position?
There's some singlets, but they're on the floor.
And you were talking about Airplane and Naked Gun yesterday. To quote, do you like movies about gladiators? Because that's the kind of vibe we're going on at Brutus.com.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, and Perloff's going to get hauled off to jail.
That is, that ain't no singlet.
So you telling me you didn't find Brutus Beef? You didn't say Brutus Beefcake, the 80s wrestler?
Oh, I love Brutus Beefcake. Yeah. Wait, he didn't say Brutus? I thought he said Brutus.com.
I don't know what he said. I assume everyone's messing with us when they call in.
I thought it was Grutus, to Maggie's point.
Grutus?
No, I thought it was, Perloff doesn't watch the Olympics, but a lot of their clothes are made by a company called Roots.
Okay.
Oh, Roots in Canada?
I thought it was maybe Roots US, Rootus.
Oh,
and
maybe.
he just didn't know how to say it. I don't know.
Roots is
now
the famous
I'm afraid
Canadian
to look it up here on this
apparel.
computer.
I love
Show
Roots.
me what it is.
No, I can't.
Okay.
Actually, there's a firewall situation. A credit card was given. I don't know what's going on here.
It's like, how did you just dial a 1-900 number? We're doing the show.
And it's asking you for a ransom.
Thomas is in San Diego. Thomas, the biggest threat to the Ravens is who?
It's got to be the Browns. It's got to be the Browns. I mean, we could just look at the animal kingdom for one. You can't kick out the old lion, bring in the new lion, and expect the old lion not to come back and beat up the new one. I mean, it's just simple rules. Simple rules.
Wait, what are those rules? About the Browns and the Ravens?
I think it has to be the Browns just based on the fact of Joe Flacco. I mean, revenge game times 10 if it does happen. I mean, they kicked him out of town for the young buck Lamar Jackson, and then who would have guessed years later in the same division.
Oh, so Flacco's the lion. Got it.
Yeah,
okay.
He's the old lion. Yeah, he kicked him out of town. And it's just one of those where I think ego and pride still come into play. Even though he seems like a really humble guy, I really think that if he has a chance to go into Baltimore and beat them, I think everyone in Baltimore will be scared. And one more thing I would like to add on Perloff. How you can not give your team no chance, man? They're in the playoffs.
Because
I mean, you're talking to a
because I
Chargers
watch
fan.
them.
We've been to one Super Bowl, and we were the San Diego Chargers then, and we didn't stand a chance against that Niners team.
Well, you should have given up on that Chargers team and Stan Humphries because you had no chance, just like my Eagles this year. What's the point? What is the point of me enduring this embarrassing loss?
Even with all those concussions, he's still making a little bit more sense than you. I mean, it took. I've never been not able to cheer for my Chargers until this year. This is the first year I said, you know what, I'm not watching another game until Coach GM gets fired and at least Spanos does something to show us. You guys won a Super Bowl not too long ago.
I know.
You guys were in the bowl last year. You guys actually have good management. And in a city, who cares? I mean, come on, Perloff. You got to do better, bro. You should be ashamed.
I'm with Thomas. Excellent call. As Jim Rome would say, rack 'em. He's fantastic because he's right. You don't know how good you have it. And the thing is that if you're going to be a real fan, in order to enjoy the ecstasy, you've got to have and experience the agony.
I did on Sunday.
No, you want to have it only one way. You want to bow out before you even get the true agony, which would be losing to the Bucks or something in the first round.
No, the real true agony would be losing to the Cowboys at any point in the playoffs.
No, you're not making that far. Bogus series got headlines. Hello.
And speaking of all of this, if you want off the Eagles beat, maybe we make Perloff root for the College of Biblical Studies women's basketball team. The ambassadors visited Grambling 2 nights ago, and it did not go well.
Rebounded by number 1, and number 1 finds number 3. Number 3 is coming up strong with the layup, and the points go to the Lady Tigers. Our score is now 101-10.
She said 101-10, but she also said number 1 to number 3 to number 10.
They don't have names.
Playing bingo?
I don't know. I tried to find her name. I don't know if this is a student broadcast, but it's certainly not professional to not know names. But anyway, Grambling won the game 159-18. That's a 141-point differential, the largest margin of victory in women's D1 history.
How do you feel about this game, the whole game in general?
It was definitely a preseason game. We can definitely say that.
Okay.
This is arguably the greatest broadcast of all time.
Wait a minute, hold on. Who said, who do you think about the game? And was that the analyst?
That was the color analyst.
Yeah, I believe his name is Nathan Carter.
Okay.
Maybe by design, the woman's name is cut off at the beginning of the airing, the re-air of the broadcast. So I got his name. I still don't know hers.
So the woman who didn't know the names of anyone on the team, we also don't know her name.
Correct. Correct. She has one.
We can find anyone in the world right now. I could find somebody in a fishing village in Bangladesh or something. We can't find this woman's name?
I tried.
that again.
I went back to
So
Grambling's website to see if they posted game notes, which would have broadcast info in them. No game notes. I checked teams they played earlier this year to see if their notes included it. Couldn't find it. Found the full broadcast on YouTube, and the audio begins with like the last syllable of her name, and she goes on alongside Nathan Carter. Here we go for Grambling State, and she just calls them biblical studies.
Like it's a major.
Yeah,
that's funny.
Yeah.
Wait, it's like she's like that woman on the airplane who's like, "You're not real." That's like, it took forever to find that woman who we eventually found.
Yeah,
and that woman may be
person's
an
not real.
imposter too. There's that whole conspiracy.
Yeah, don't get Aaron Rodgers started.
I know.
On that one.
I'm sure he's down that rabbit hole. I assume that she didn't know the names of the people playing because they just started pulling people from the stands, being like, "Hey, you want to score on biblical studies? Go ahead, put a jersey on."
Number 1 passes to number 3.
Look, I am currently searching Brutus.com for her name.
Don't know if you're going to find it there.
You need a new computer by the end of the day.
If you were
I'm
wondering,
going to need a new co-host. If you keep going down that website, we're all going to be in trouble.
The College of Biblical Studies is a Division II program from Houston. They committed 57 turnovers in this game. They made 8 shots to score their 18. This is basically a crime. I don't know actually who the perpetrator is. Is it the College of Biblical Studies for letting them play Grambling?
Yes.
Is it Grambling for doing this to them?
Yes.
But this shouldn't happen.
Here's a question. is College of Biblical Studies, have they won any games this year?
They unless they won one last night, no.
Do they have a basketball court?
Do they have balls? I don't even know if they practiced before this game. How do you commit 57 turnovers in 40 minutes?
Oh, you could stumble into some blocks.
What are we doing?
Aw.
I've been on some lopsided. I've been on both sides of both, but in high school I was on the side of some lopsided losses.
What was the worst? Do you remember?
Probably went to Rice with Kemba Walker. He was playing at Rice. Probably lost to them probably about 35-36.
Okay.
And that's in a high school game though. So you're talking about 8-minute
Quarters.
That's
a lot of damage.
Yeah, that's definitely a whooping. But like what I love about those games is, boy, if you're on that team that's getting stomped out, like that last quarter, you can pretty much do whatever the hell you want. So I used to get in the game. I'm just jacking them up.
Yeah,
You
that's
get
when I
trips to
played
Steph
too.
Curry.
But it was never 159-18.
I know, but I mean, I watched some of those highlights at the end, and I saw some biblical studies players just shooting from 40. I was like, hey, go ahead. Why not? You're down 105.
How about the highlights from the beginning? I think it was 46-4 after the first quarter. That was their best shot.
Nice run.
I'd be doing Harlem Globetrotter stuff. I'd be throwing the ball over my head backwards, just blindfolded.
Put a ladder on the court.
They probably got paid $75 to go to that game, too.
Man, any other scores in
There were,
sports?
actual scores last night. Number 19, Marquette losing at St. John's, 57-56. Number 6, Baylor down. Number 23, TCU, 71-50. On the men's side, Miami scored 60 second-half points to beat number 16, Clemson, 95-82. The Hurricanes now 9-0 at home this season. In the pros, Zion Williamson, anything but
like a Segal.
last night in Minnesota.
I mean, Z's doing it all. He is drawing so much attention, and then he just stole the inbounds on cue. Right hand throwdown. Thank you, Zion. That's how you make the announcer look good.
Todd Graffinini on Pels Radio. New Orleans a 117-106 win on the T-Wolves floor. New Orleans has won 4 in a row, 9 of 12. A little Pro Bowl history yesterday. For the first time since Peyton Manning and Kurt Warner in 1999, the top QBs, Brock Purdy, Tua Tagovailoa, are first-time Pro Bowlers. Aiden Hutchinson, Puka Nacua, Raheem Mostert among the others picked for the very first time. Washington expects Dylan Johnson to be fine for Monday night's title game after suffering a lower leg injury in the final minutes against Texas. And after all those snapping issues at the Rose Bowl, Bama center Seth McLaughlin's leaving Tuscaloosa, entering the transfer portal. 8 other Tide players put their names in yesterday as well. Guys, back to you.
I thought you said Dylan Johnson was getting fined. I'm like, wow, that's a bad week for that guy. He's going to be fine.
Yeah, should be fine on Monday
And they
night.
slapped him with $10,000.
Yeah, like
crying, as
taking
he
your
was
helmet
leaving
off on the field. How could that dude be fined? It looked like he was
I
done
know.
for a year.
I mean, it's also Wednesday. They might be lying to us.
Yeah, I think this has got that written all over. I think you probably want him to dress. Does he actually get on the field?
Right.
I mean, it looked like his ankle snapped in half.
Yeah, I did. Well, you can shoot him up with stuff. It's hard to shoot up that part of the body.
Yeah, you're going to run on a numb ankle?
Yeah, is it a high ankle sprain or a low ankle sprain?
That I don't know. They won't even tell you what leg it is.
Did
even though we
anyone know
saw it
about
on
low
TV.
ankle? No, I never heard low ankle sprain until Saquon Barkley introduced it to the world this year.
And then didn't have it. And then eventually they did shift to high ankle sprain eventually with him.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I think low ankle sprain is just your foot's broken. So,
By the way, update and shout out to the Youngstown caller who called back. It is Rudis.com, RUDIS.com, and it does have actual singlets.
Yeah,
thank you. I knew Phil wasn't messing with us.
Brutus.com has some singlets too.
Singles or singlets?
Singlets, chaps. There's a lot of things going on at Brutus.com.
Yowza, 855-212-4CBS. Okay, so yes, I'm on Rudis's website now. It's all wrestling equipment, and it's all safe for work. Coming up, I've got hope for Cowboys fans. We'll do that next. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. This portion of the show is sponsored by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit at wesleyfinancialgroup.com. Allow me to give a little hope to the Dallas Cowboy fans in something we call no gray area. All right. You've got a Dallas Cowboys team that is certainly a Super Bowl contender, Perloff, but what's the one big thing that's standing in their way?
History.
Nope, the San Francisco 49ers.
Oh, okay.
Which also includes history.
Yeah.
Which is that they cannot beat the 49ers, including this year. Now, I'm going to tell you 3 reasons why the Dallas Cowboys will make things different this year. Number 1, you go back through history. EJ and I did this yesterday. We could find one instance in recent history, going back maybe the last 35 years, 35 years, where one team beat another team in the playoffs in 3 consecutive years. And this was the Green Bay Packers losing to those Dallas Cowboys 3 times in a row in the mid-90s. It doesn't happen. Peyton Manning didn't lose to Tom Brady 3 times in a row. This is really, really rare. You can count on one hand maybe how many times one team beats another team 3 times in a row in the postseason. And this would be the 3rd time in the postseason. It actually would be the 4th time overall, considering they played in the regular season this year. You had close games in the playoff games. 19-12 was the final score last year, and 23-17 was the final score 2 years ago. In each game, Dak Prescott's numbers have gotten better. Let's go to Prescott. Point number 2. Dak has experience now. Dak's seen it all. 2-4 record in playoff games. He's the seasoned veteran here if we're talking about him versus Purdy. Right? At some point, all that institutional knowledge, call it failures, whatever it is in the postseason, where he has had some successes as well, it has to matter and add up for something. Dak's experience, his ability to play at home, and the great numbers there is what leads me to point number 3. Why things are going to work out this time around for the Dallas Cowboys, things are breaking right for the Cowboys. Not only they get lucky with that, bad call at the end of the Detroit game, but what does that lead to? That leads to them now in the driver's seat for the number 2 seed. That means 2 home playoff games, where this year more than any other year, the splits have been so stark in Dallas, how they perform at home versus how they perform on the road. They have the inside track to the NFC East crown. Home games in the wild card round and divisional round. 2 home games. You need a little bit of luck if you're gonna break this sort of, this bad streak against the 49ers. It's breaking right for Dallas this year.
But one question.
So those are the 3 things.
Yeah.
They have close games against San Francisco in the playoffs, and very few teams beat one team 3 times in a row in the playoffs, 3 years in a row. Dak's experience, and things are breaking right for them.
Well, one question, and those are really good points. I especially like the history that it's hard. It reminds me a little bit how Sean McVay could not beat Kyle Shanahan until he did beat him in the playoffs.
Yep.
But one question, it's this home field thing. They get 2 home field games, so it doesn't matter because they still have to go to San Francisco. So it was just a matter of whether they were going there in the divisional round or if they're going there in the conference title round. So why does that give them an advantage? It's still a game in San Francisco.
Okay, you will be going there, but that brings me to hard to beat a team 3 times in a row.
Right.
And you have the experience now, right? You've already been there. You've already done this. Yes, you got blown out, but the history shows these playoff games are a lot tighter. And you'd be doing it in the NFC Championship game, which to some people is like already, kind of a victory for the Dallas Cowboys because it's been so long since they even got back to that game.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a loser energy right there from the Cowboys because they have to look at it like we need to go all the way this year. But I just think that's why I didn't care that the Eagles fell to the 5 seed and not the 2 seed. It's inevitable. They're like, San Francisco is Thanos. You're going to have to go to that stadium, and I don't care when it is, and you're going to have to win. I thought you were going to say because there's a chance that McCaffrey will get hurt because he has to play a game before. That is honestly the one thing that really scares me about San Francisco this year is they're so healthy compared to usual going into the playoffs. Doesn't that make you nervous?
No, because anything can happen at any moment. And the thing is, you can't rely on health. That's just something.
Well, that's who gets to the Super
or
Bowl.
doesn't happen.
That's who wins the Super Bowl.
No,
that's the reality. I mean, the Chiefs played the Bucs with Tom Brady, and the Chiefs O-line got injured, and boom, they got destroyed.
But it's like you can't count on it. I can't say that they're vulnerable until I see somebody get injured.
Yeah, you're right. Although you can say that the reason the Ravens have never taken the next step is because they have injuries. The reason the Niners have struggled is because of injuries. Because you could say McCaffrey never, if you run McCaffrey too much, you're going to run into injuries. So there is logic. It's not pure luck.
That's true. 855-212-4CBS.
But I like it. I got to be honest. You're making me really nervous because it's bad enough that the Eagles are tanking right now. The Cowboys winning it all would just be the worst thing that could happen to me. It'd be so bad.
It'd be the best thing that happens to me.
More than the Bills?
Well, that'd be number one. But I picked the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl. I've never gotten one of those picks right. Ever. 855-212-4CBS. What do you think of my logic there? The 3 reasons why the Cowboys will make things different this time around. 855-212-4CBS. Don't forget.
You're in a 5-minute break. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
She can put away a large pizza by herself. He's allergic to cheese. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. On Thursdays, we do something called the multiverse of Maggie and Perloff. This is where we take one of the big what-ifs in sports and we reimagine it. Here's what it sounds like.
Exploring sports' biggest what-ifs and could-have-beens. Let's dive into the multiverse of Maggie and Perloff.
Perloff, today we are looking at the career of somebody who is very much in the news right now, and that is Jim Harbaugh. Today in the multiverse of Maggie and Perloff, we're asking, what would have happened if Jim Harbaugh had never left the San Francisco 49ers? Now, clearly there's two sides of this, right? What would have happened to the 49ers, and then what would have happened to the Michigan Wolverines? Let's take the 49ers aspect of this first.
I think the Niners were falling apart anyway. I don't think that this is if Jim Harbaugh had stayed, he would have gotten to the Super Bowl because they'd sort of passed the torch, as you recall, to the Seahawks in the NFC West. He got the Super Bowl in 2012, lost to the Ravens. Great game, close game. Yep. Then the Seahawks started to rise in the West, and they took him out in the next year's NFC title game. And then eventually Kaepernick hurt his shoulder, which was a huge factor. Obviously, Jim Harbaugh had the struggles with the front office, but they had to pay Kaepernick, and they started losing talent around him. I just don't think that team was headed on any important trajectory with Harbaugh anyway. So my point, two things. One, it was probably going to fizzle out personnel-wise. Secondly, it's not an if thing. It's a when. Jim Harbaugh is going to cause friction with people around him. So I do think he has a shelf life in a place like San Francisco.
Okay, I'm going to disagree with you because in this multiverse, which we're doing today, the multiverse of Maggie and Perloff, which reimagines things in sports, we're asking what if Jim Harbaugh had never left the 49ers? I think you have to assume if he doesn't leave, does he win a power struggle with Trent Baalke, who was the general manager at the time, who he did not get along with? Now, listen, they were very successful. 3 straight trips to the NFC Championship game. Obviously, that trip to the Super Bowl that you mentioned where they lost to the Ravens and his brother John by 3 points. I mean, that was a tight game. But I have to imagine Harbaugh wins that power struggle. And the bad draft picks and the bad free agent signings of Trent Baalke, maybe you sustain this thing a little bit longer where you don't fall off a cliff, which is exactly what the 49ers ended up doing the last 8-8 season with Harbaugh. Then after that, they're winning 2 games and 3 games and Jim Tomsula and Chip Kelly. And it was a total mess. You had the terrible draft picks, with Alvin Smith, who was a troubled person, obviously. A.J. Jenkins. Ooh. I mean, this is a terrible wide receiver first rounder. LaMichael James, loved him in college. Marcus Lattimore, who had that big knee injury in college, who they took a shot at. Like, I'm assuming another general manager comes in, and I'm also assuming that even you're right that Kaepernick ended up with a shoulder injury, and that sort of started one of the downfalls of Kaepernick. But I have to imagine that Jim Harbaugh would have done better than Blaine Gabbert or would have done better with their quarterback, with whoever would have been the quarterback, than Jim Tomsula, who was the defensive line coach, and then Chip Kelly, who was just not a fit in the NFL, period.
Well, okay. I don't think you can say that Harbaugh was going to win a Super Bowl just because the guys after him were terrible. Yes, they were all. Tomsula was terrible, and Chip Kelly, who knows what's going on there. That's been a mess. So, but that doesn't change the fact that what trajectory was, you just look at the numbers, was going down for Harbaugh. So, and I think this is personal. By the way, Alden Smith was such a baller.
Oh, I know. But
he was incredible. He just was a knucklehead.
Flamed out.
He almost set the sack record one year. I just don't think, I understand what you're saying. I know where the Niners went, but I don't think they were going anywhere good with Harbaugh. I think that the window passed for that team because I don't think, also Kaepernick, just as I mentioned, they paid him a lot, so they could not build around him. And it just felt like his career after the injury never got back to where it was. Maybe it does with Harbaugh, but I don't think so. He just wasn't the same guy.
Yeah, but, to Kaepernick's credit, he actually, I went back and looked at this because I wasn't sure. He took a very team-friendly deal. Now, the number itself was big. It was like $126 million or something, but it was opt-outs after not opt-outs. It was guaranteed year by year. Like at one point it was going to be a $14 million cap hit, and Kaepernick forewent that and said, we will restructure my deal just so I can become a free agent. And what ended up happening with Kaepernick there is he became a free agent right at the time when he started kneeling, and that made him not palatable to a lot of teams. Because if you go back and read the articles around that time, everyone thought when Kirk Cousins got franchise tagged by the Washington football team, this was going to open the door for Colin Kaepernick to be a high-profile free agent signing because he couldn't get the deal done with the Denver Broncos. And I think a lot of teams obviously were turned off by the kneeling, and we know now that maybe he was even blackballed by that.
Wait, so you're saying Colin Kaepernick, when he was kneeling, I understand he got blackballed, but no one's going to pay him $150 million.
No, he wasn't going to get a big contract, but he was a sought-after free agent because Kirk Cousins got franchise tagged by Washington. So going back to these articles, he was the one guy who was out there for, I think it was the Jets, Houston Texans were in the mix.
I don't remember it that way at all. He wasn't. Kirk Cousins was sought after. Somebody wanted to pay $30 million for Kirk Cousins.
Well, that was eventually when he got to free agency.
Right, Kaepernick was going to take something close to the minimum.
Well, it's funny because he had actually put together, even though his shoulder injury, he was never exactly the same. The last games that he played, the numbers weren't terrible.
Yeah, he had good numbers that they've got killed in every game. Yeah. Here's the other thing. The team around Kaepernick stunk. That's what I'm saying. Name a good player.
They did get old. You're right.
Yeah. Partly because, and I know it was a manageable contract but it was a big contract. They didn't really pay anybody. Think of who Kaepernick was throwing to. It was not a good team that Harbaugh was going to be coaching.
So we're talking about something we call the multiverse of Maggie and Perloff, where we go back on Thursdays at this time. We look at a sports what if. Today we're looking at whether Jim Harbaugh, what would have happened if he had stayed with the 49ers? So while we're talking about Kaepernick, could have Jim Harbaugh either salvaged Kaepernick's career, or at least would he have moved on to a better quarterback than Blaine Gabbert, who the team then, got from Jacksonville and then ended up re-signing? Blaine Gabbert is ironically going to be starting this weekend for the Kansas City Chiefs. That's a rich man for somebody who is not a very good quarterback.
But Gabbert was a backup to Kaepernick. It wasn't like they re-signed him, but it wasn't a huge deal.
But they ended up going, it was like $14 million. I mean,
$14 million
for 2 years, I believe. It ended up,
that's
backup money. Yeah. But here's the thing: they ended up wandering in the quarterback desert.
Sure.
Until they traded for Jimmy Garoppolo in the next iteration of this, in the Kyle Shanahan era. Right. So I think with Jim Harbaugh, you probably would have had, I would imagine you would have had a better quarterback solution, because according to, again, articles I went back and reread, it was Balky and Jim Harbaugh. Harbaugh was the one who really stood on ceremony about drafting Colin Kaepernick in the first place, and then you saw what happened. He won that power struggle against Balky.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I understand what you're saying, but the team around Kaepernick was not the team in 2012. I think Kaepernick was in a bad spot there. I can't even remember who his receivers were.
Well, Michael Crabtree.
Well, yeah, but Crabtree was
also on the way out,
falling apart.
And Frank Gore was going to be leaving. That was a guy who was massive in the run game during their Super Bowl.
Yeah, that team just was not. And I think Harbaugh knew that too. And I think that's why Harbaugh
it was
kind of was like, all right, I'm good leaving here. Because
Stevie Johnson, who actually was not bad for them, and they let him go too.
Do you remember Harbaugh during the season, even before it all fell apart, it was known by everybody that he was leaving because he hated the front office.
Definitely. I mean, he got into an argument with Joe Staley, the offensive lineman, because Joe Staley later said in a podcast, I was arguing with him because I was telling him, fight for this job. Like, you're not fighting for this job. You are acting as if you already have been fired. And then a couple weeks later, he was ultimately fired.
Wait, just let me but you think Harbaugh gets to the Super Bowl with that Niners team?
I think that I can't write it off because look at the success that he had. He comes in 3 straight NFC championship games and 1 Super Bowl run. Like, I can't believe that the quarterback situation would have gotten that bad if Harbaugh would have stayed.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't see that as a Super Bowl nucleus around Harbaugh.
The flip side of this is we're doing the multiverse of Maggie and Perloff, which is reimagining a what if in sports. Today we're doing what if Jim Harbaugh had never left the 49ers. There's a Michigan side of this as well, as Jim Harbaugh now is going to be coaching the Wolverines in the national championship game. So this is a time in Michigan, which was particularly dark, coming off of Rich Rodriguez and then Brady Hoke. And you had an interim athletic director at the time who was going to be making this hire. And if Jim Harbaugh, who they ended up like circling in on to the point where if they didn't hire him, it would have been a massive disappointment for the Michigan athletic department. Like, they didn't really have they were trying to go real big game hunting here and get a really massive name. But Jim Harbaugh ended up being like a 1 of 1 on that list.
Yeah, the funny thing, too, if they hadn't gone Harbaugh, don't you get the feeling they could have, even if they did bring in a name, they'd be on their 3rd coach by now?
Definitely.
Because they kind of wanted to get rid of Harbaugh.
Oh, in 2020.
Yeah.
This is why the sign stealing started, allegedly, because you were getting blown. You were losing to Ohio
Couldn't
State.
beat Ohio State.
Could beat Michigan State. You had a 3-3 record against Michigan State.
Yeah.
You had a bad record against Notre Dame. I mean, it was rough.
I was trying to rack my brain. If Jim Harbaugh was not the coach of Michigan, who would be the coach right now? For some reason, the name Brian Kelly came to mind. A Midwest, well, he's not from the Midwest, but a Midwestern coach, somebody like that, which could have worked as well. I mean, Michigan does have a lot of advantages. I think they could have done well in this NIL era, but I think Harbaugh has turned out to be the best case scenario.
Well, yeah, I mean, eventually, right?
Eventually.
Eventually, when here we are with Harbaugh. But it had gotten so dire at Michigan that because Brady Hoke was the quote-unquote Michigan man, because he had been an assistant coach under Lloyd Carr, that they were like, we can no longer use this Michigan man stuff. Like, we have to look somewhere else. And then who do they end up hiring? The ultimate Michigan man in their former quarterback, Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, well, and the ultimate Michigan man, except for Tom Brady, who is jumping all over that Wolverine train right now. Yeah, I mean, the truth is it would have been a lot harder for Michigan to outduel Ohio State. The fact that they've beaten 3 times in a row, to me is a miracle because I watched Ohio State beat them 18 out of 19 times. It's incredible what Harbaugh has done there. Maybe he cheated a little bit, but I still think he's been an incredible success there.
A little bit.
In this multiverse format, I think it would have been real bad for Michigan if Harbaugh didn't get there.
So, multiverse of Maggie and Perloff, again, we're going back over a what if. What if Jim Harbaugh had never left the 49ers? Ultimately, we think that both places were bad. I mean, the 49ers, you don't think ever would have gotten to their heights.
I don't think.
And Michigan either.
I think Michigan would have struggled. I think the Niners were falling apart under Harbaugh anyway. I don't think that made a huge difference. In fact, getting really bad opened the way to get really good. It kind of worked out in 5 years later for San Francisco. So but Michigan got lucky.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Did we leave anything out there?
No, I think you got it. I think the interesting point there was even expanding this to Ohio State, which is, does Ryan Day have a national championship? I mean, how many times did Michigan keep him out of the playoff or put them in a game situation where they had to play Georgia in the first round? They would have had to beat Georgia anyway. He did, they beat him 3 times. One of those times he did make the Final Four. So right, but there's twice where he didn't. And you wonder what would have changed for Ryan Day. Is he, talked about maybe he's Kirby Smart instead of Kirby Smart being the guy that's I don't want to say young, but the newer coach that right now is seen as the best coach in the game. Maybe it's Ryan Day because one thing about Jim Harbaugh is he built a team to beat Ohio State. And he built a perfect team because Ohio State was doing spread offense. They were throwing the ball over the yard. And he said, we're going to just get in the trenches and just beat you up. Like, they hired Rich Rodriguez, who wanted to do spread and a lot of the West Virginia stuff. That didn't work. Brady Hill came in, didn't really have much of an identity. Like, what Harbaugh did not only impacted Michigan, I think it really changed the trajectory for Ohio State because it looked like they were just going to run Michigan out of the state for another 20 years.
But they did for the first, 6
they did
years
for a
of
couple.
Harbaugh?
Yeah, it did.
Well, I mean, also you can't discount the fact that Urban burned out at Ohio State. Yeah. So I mean, it is a little complicated there too. I hate to say it, Ryan Day. I like Ryan Day, but he's no Urban Meyer.
If we want to bring this up to out of the past and the what if, as we're doing a multiverse of Maggie and Perloff, what if Jim Harbaugh had never left the 49ers? If you want to just bring it around to present day, this is where you have to think Michigan may have a nice advantage here over Washington. I love Washington as a story, but here's why. EJ just said it. Michigan is a team that was built to beat Ohio State. Who does Washington kind of remind you of? Ohio State.
The great Ohio State teams, right?
Because the great wide receivers.
3 great receivers, yeah.
It's going to be hard to stop, and, Michigan might have the blueprint here.
Yes.
They don't have the signs, though.
I got to tell you, though, I thought you were going to say that Michigan has a coaching advantage, and I understand where you go there, but Kalen DeBoer right now is
not coaching. I think
he's
it's the personnel.
Well, I mean, I think you could say Jim Harbaugh has a coaching advantage because he's been there. He has so much experience. But right now, you saw the 2 Final Four games. Michigan, they had a good game plan, but they look like a sloppy team where Washington feels like they're maximizing their talent. I might give schematically a little edge to Kalen DeBoer. I do like what you said, though. Michigan is built to beat this kind of team. Although, I got to tell you, that pass rush, Penix gets rid of that ball so fast.
Well,
I'm dying to see this.
He got rid of that ball really fast when Texas had literally 0 quarterback hits on him. That is not going to be the case against the Wolverines.
How are you going to get a hit on a guy? He's 3 steps, boom, it's up in the air. It's high up in the air, and then it's landing in Rome Odunze's hands. I'm telling you, I'm very curious to see if they can get the pressure they got on Milroe on Penix, because Penix is so good.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. See you guys on the phones. You want to weigh in on this multiverse question. What would have happened if Jim Harbaugh had never left the 49ers? Craig is in Vancouver, Washington. Good morning, Craig.
I would love to say I miss his sideline tantrums. They were fantastic. They were amazing.
Yeah.
Him losing his self as a person, as a coach. Fantastic work.
Is that's the thing you miss about Harbaugh and the pros?
Oh, for sure.
Well, I mean, he still throws some tantrums in the college ranks as well. Craig, thank you so much.
Still has fights with opposing coaches. I'm not fights, but arguments.
Yeah.
I love that stuff. That's awesome.
Steve is in Pennsylvania. Has got a thought on a topic we were talking about earlier, which is who was the biggest threat to the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC? Good morning, Steve.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call.
You got it, pal. What's up?
I want to get your take on this. To me, I think the biggest threat to the Baltimore Ravens is the Baltimore Ravens.
In what way?
I think sitting Lamar Jackson for a week and then a bye for a week and then another week before they even play a game is a mistake. And I don't know how you guys feel about it, but
I think that what you're saying is being talked about in the Baltimore front office right now. I think they're very nervous about this situation because they'll be 3 weeks off, and it cost them in 2019. Yeah, this is a very. I understand what you're saying. I get both sides. You do not want to risk an injury, but I am worried they're going to look rusty.
Steve,
yes, and they're going to be.
I think they made this decision slam dunk, hands down. Didn't even think twice about it. Lamar, sit. He's a different and more experienced quarterback than he was in 2019, and if he does something to get hurt or anyone gets hurt, and the Ravens know this better than anyone, they're going to blow a huge opportunity.
And they're going to be playing a team that's on a roll.
Yeah, but Steve, I get your point. Thanks so much for making the call. You're going to be playing a team that's on the roll, sure, but you're going to be at home and you're probably going to be favored in that game. I would take my home field advantage over the momentum of the other team.
Yeah, but the rest does make you nervous. I mean, it has to, because right now there's not. I mean, they've been killing the best teams in the NFL. You can't possibly have more momentum than Baltimore right now. What's the one thing other than an injury that can slow that down is, I don't know, let's rest for a few weeks.
Okay, but you know how like in baseball, for example, they'll do something where they'll have an opener and you'll end up using like 10 pitchers in a game. Why that's so risky is because the more people you put out there to pitch, the more likely someone has a bad day and ends up giving up 6 runs in an inning or something, and you kind of screw yourself. Like the more you play, the more chances are you're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
Like this is a veteran type of team outside of Isaiah Likely and Zay Flowers. I mean, they should know what they're doing here.
I understand, but it's going so well right now. You don't think they're nervous about that? I think you're crazy because in 2019 they had everything was going there. I mean, they were even better that year than they are now. They were 14-2, and I think the second loss might have been arresting starters. Yeah, I don't think it's a no-brainer to them at all. I'll bet you they sat and said, well, maybe we should give him a quarter. I'll bet you they thought, okay, let's just get him out there. Nobody's touching him right now anyway. And by the way, Lamar seems oddly injury-proof. I'm not saying that to jinx him, but he feels like he's a much bigger, stronger quarterback than he was in 19. I don't know. He's just more mature. I think maybe you play him a half. I know that sounds dumb. You do have a good point about injuries, but I'm so worried they're going to lose their mojo.
Well, they decided they're not. It's going to be Snoop Huntley who's going to be playing in the game. So
no, I know.
I'm
saying that I'll bet you. I think they should play him a half. I think it is 3 weeks from the last time he played to the game. You don't think that they're going to look a little sloppy? They actually start games sloppy all the time anyway. They're like poke, then hit a big play in the second quarter team. Yeah, I worry about this. But say it's Cleveland, and he's coming off a month rest almost against that Cleveland defense. Doesn't make you nervous, Meg?
Not even a little bit. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Coming up, we do have audio for you. J.J. McCarthy talking about the Michigan sign-stealing scandal. A lot more to do. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break.
show is sponsored by the new Hyundai Tucson, available with complimentary class-leading Blue Link Plus. Now it's easy to use your phone to control your Tucson. All right, welcome back to Maggie and Perloff.
I have a question for you.
Yes, go ahead.
Did you guys see the big news that happened the other day? We all played video games growing up.
Still do.
Still do.
Right. But who's still playing Tetris?
Not me.
Not me.
Pete just raised his hand.
On my phone.
So apparently this 13-year-old kid, did you guys see this? This boy?
No.
Beat the game.
You can beat the game?
Apparently you can beat the game, and he's the first person in history who they think has actually beaten Tetris. He played the game for so long and kept winning and winning and winning that the game just froze.
Now, how long?
They're considering that a win. I'll get the details for you.
That
What
feels
year was
like a
Tetris?
glitch.
What yeah, it feels like your screen froze.
Yeah.
Like mine did on Brutus.com.
So you say.
When did we play Tetris? What was that? Early 2000s? 90s?
90s.
Yeah, no, it's definitely
Tetris.
90s. I was
early 90s.
Yeah.
Okay, so this kid, Willis Gibson, became the first player to officially, quote-unquote, beat the original Nintendo version of the game because he broke it. They're counting this as a win. So it's what gamers call a quote-unquote kill screen, a point where the Tetris code glitches, crashing the game. Apparently, this is a really big deal because he did it, and he lives in San Francisco.
That's not a win. He just broke the game.
Yeah, like what's
But
the
not, he didn't like throw the controller through the TV.
Right, but like what's the CSI on this? Like, how do you prove that the game cried uncle because it was being played and beaten so long? I don't understand. How do you know that's why it glitched?
I think because he said his hands were numb.
But also
playing it for so long.
I mean, I can't imagine. Maybe this is what they're saying, but how do you not have like some kind of game over or congratulations screen? Like the idea that he just kept playing and therefore I don't think you can win Tetris. I'm not giving him this credit. I'm sorry.
It's not like Fortnite where you get to do a dance if you win.
Right,
The
something's gotta
Tetris
happen.
dance.
Yeah, something's gotta happen. There's some games that you just don't win.
Okay, but
that's fine. I don't think he should take credit for beating the game.
I think the gamer world is giving him credit. I'm surprised you guys aren't jumping on board.
He broke the game. He didn't win.
I know, but in one of these games that doesn't have like you're not beating Donkey Kong at the end or Mike Tyson in Punch Out, then this is considered a W.
I don't think it means you beat it though. I think it means you
played too much,
outlasted
broke the game.
Yeah, you ran the clock out. Like sometimes so for example, it's like to me if I was like simulating like a franchise on Madden, like I can't beat that. It's just like I can win 100 Super Bowls. It's still gonna keep going.
Right.
If Madden stops working, I'm not gonna say, oh, I beat the franchise mode. That doesn't make sense.
Well, I got to tell you, he's getting a lot of flowers for this guy.
Not from me. Not from us.
Wow, you guys are haters.
What is it, teenager, he said? 16?
He's 13.
13?
Dude, he's got to put his energy into a game that can get him a scholarship. Because isn't that the thing now? Gamers get
Right.
so he's got to get into that COD and get a full ride, baby.
Get ready for those working papers.
And that's
Come
the thing
on.
too to
What
me.
a
Like
waste
I think
on Tetris.
I'm sorry, he's from Oklahoma. I said San Francisco. I'm wrong. He's a Willis Gibson, a competitive Tetris playing prodigy from Oklahoma.
You know, I'd be more impressed if it was a 50-year-old person that had a job doing this and actually won the game.
I don't think you can have a job and do this. It said the screen froze and the Tetris score read 999999.
But,
Guys, winner.
No, to me, like also
Virus.
of all the games you can quote unquote beat, I like Tetris. I don't.
It's like getting to the end of Subway Surfers. So you guys play Subway Surfers? The very popular phone game. It just goes on forever and ever and ever.
Well, to me, I don't think this is skill.
Okay, so the last time that this happened where they played so long or got so far that it froze was artificial intelligence. It was AI who, quote unquote, beat the game. And now we have a 13-year-old who did it. He said he collapsed into his chair and said, I can't feel my fingers.
But see, that's the fact you say AI makes me even feel stronger about that. This is not skill. You're smart. I think I'd give you credit for saying, hey, like you were able to like figure out problems really fast. But that's like to me, like if you're a gamer, there's a certain level of skill that goes into playing a Street Fighter, playing the Call of Duty or whatever. Tetris to me is more almost like a mental game, how you can do something in enough time.
All right, I feel like I'm trying to sell you guys on this, but here's a little bit more. For years, the limit was thought to be level 29, where the blocks are falling so quickly, this is from the New York Times, that it would seem as if it would be impossible for a human to keep up. But in the last decade, a new generation of Tetris players have tested the boundary. This kid, this 13-year-old, got to level 157.
What?
Reaching Tetris's quote-unquote kill screen. Like, guys, you got to give him credit here.
But if Tetris had predetermined that 157 was the max and he got there, okay. But they didn't. He just played and played and played. I would argue differently than EJ does about the skill. I mean, it's still a skill to not have the blocks back up on you. But you can't, unless you're beating somebody at the end, it's not beating the game.
There should be a screen where it's like the Tetris blocks are dancing or something. And
Yeah,
hey,
you're good. Get outside now. Get some sunshine.
Right. Go
This
for
kid
a
hasn't
walk.
seen
Take a
the sun in
shower.
a while. I saw a photo of him. He's as pale as anybody.
Check your eyes.
Yeah. This is okay. I think this could have been the ego of the Tetris makers because they wanted to be an unbeatable game. Guys, that's called marketing. And they just didn't want to give you the satisfaction you're ever going to beat it. And this kid got as close as possible. So,
But did he?
I think he did. He's claiming victory here.
So if I was playing solitaire so much that I wore the numbers and the symbols off a card so I couldn't play anymore, that I beat solitaire?
Yeah. And I'd be
didn't.
and I'd be a good friend and I'd, support you.
I don't believe that either.
Headlines here with Andrew Bogish.
Guys, it might be the most costly banner in NBA history. The Lakers hung up their IST title, and they're now 3-9 since beating the Pacers in Vegas.
Double team comes out to Tyler. He's wide open for three. Splash from the left side of the arc. Tyler Hero, 4 of 8 from the edges. He has 21.
And the Heat had a 110-98 win in L.A. Jason Jackson on Miami radio. Heroes scored those 21, while Duncan Robinson had 13, including 11 in the fourth. Anthony Davis worried.
We got work tonight, so it's a little bit of everything right now. And we keep on this trend. It's not going to be good for us.
The Lakers lost despite Davis putting up 29 points, 17 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 blocks, and 3 steals. Bronny James did score 10 as USC beat Cal 82-74. Back in the NBA, the Clipper win streak is 5 after a 131-122 final in Phoenix. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard combining for 63 points. James Harden had 11 assists. Luka and Kyrie combined for 70 as the Mavs rolled the Blazers 126-97, and the Kings outscored the Magic 138-135 in double OT. Domantas Sabonis, 22 points, 23 rebounds, and a dozen assists.
Hey, off the Lakers struggling. And I'm going to put EJ to the test on this one.
Okay.
If they don't make the playoffs and they won the in-season tournament, was this a successful season?
Of course not.
Okay.
So to double check.
That's the thing. That's why you guys.
So
are
the in-season tournament is meaningless.
No, that's why you guys are so lost, because you think for some reason that because the in-season tournament exists, it somehow negates the rest of the regular season or the postseason. It does not. It is something different. But it doesn't mean you can't
the
feel good
preseason
about
is
winning
something
it.
different. Are you putting up a preseason banner?
No, this is in game. This is in the regular season. What do you mean?
I think I've got a better question. If the Lakers don't make the playoffs, does LeBron James try to move teams?
I don't think so. I think he's
moved the Lakers to Vegas. You mean
The whole franchise?
If they don't make the playoffs, should they take the IST banner down?
No.
Oh, that
Should
thing's
they
not
take it
going
down
anywhere.
now?
No, they're making the playoffs has nothing to do with the in-season tournament. Just like winning the in-season tournament has nothing to do with the playoffs.
Then why are we playing the in-season tournament?
Wait, but here's the question. It might have had an impact on what's happening now. I mean, they did go pretty all out to win that tournament, which, is fine. But
you are a bad basketball team if something you happened in December is the reason why you didn't make the playoffs.
Well,
this idea that we're gonna push that to this is why the Lakers now won't make that doesn't make any sense
no,
to
but
me.
it might be part of the reason why they're struggling now, though. Right?
Yeah, but then what everybody tells me is that this now doesn't matter. So what difference does it make?
I'm just saying, they definitely pushed. Listen, this happened even before the in-season tournament. They're pushing the minutes with LeBron, even though they said they weren't going to, because they can't do it any other way.
Right.
And now, you're getting the effects maybe of older LeBron.
But it's only January, and they're actually playing him, and he's putting up big numbers. It's so weird to me. When I saw the score of the Heat Lakers, I couldn't stay up for that one. I assumed LeBron didn't play, and he did play. And Anthony Davis is putting up these MVP numbers. It's such a weird. How can Anthony Davis be the MVP and they be 17 and 18?
Well, look, Anthony Davis has never been the best player on a great team. Let's be real.
Oh,
you're saying so Anthony Davis can put up
because
big
right now
numbers.
Anthony Davis is their best player, and what did that get them in New Orleans?
Kind of empty numbers.
Hold on, though. He was the best player on the bubble title team.
Even that's questionable. LeBron was averaging like 12 assists.
Yeah.
No, I get it.
LeBron was the point guard.
I think the bubble title everything gets called into
Right.
question, but he was the best player on that team.
I
think LeBron was right there. I agree with EJ.
LeBron won the Finals MVP. He had that duel with Jimmy Butler. I mean, Anthony Davis was great, but LeBron was also outstanding.
Now, numbers-wise, Anthony Davis is the clear leader of the Lakers.
Yeah,
and
that was
so
by
that's
design.
interesting. So you blame him. Huh.
It's not even blaming him. It's just that, look, like, I think LeBron's reaching an age where you have to wonder how much of an impact can he have over the course of an 82-game season. And if Anthony Davis is the guy you're going to be relying on to dominate game in and game out, what does that get you? Again, for the Pelicans, it got him a lot of 42-win seasons. Yeah, and college was okay. And New Orleans was 42 wins and a first-round exit. Like, that may be who they are.
Bogish, anything else?
Yeah, as we all know, 2024 is the year that Tom Brady becomes a Fox broadcaster.
I'm already working hard on trying to, make sure I'm ready for that opportunity, ready for that, and I'm prepared mentally and emotionally for that challenge, because it is a challenge. It's something that's new. It's outside of my comfort zone. And, I'm excited to get out there and try something and see how I do. But it's got to be about what my preparation is and what my work ethic is. And hopefully a lot of the things that I've done in my career have prepared me for that.
That's TB12 on his SiriusXM podcast. He joins Kevin Burkhardt in the main Fox booth in September, which is why Greg Olson wants to be the Panthers head coach, even though David Tepper might throw a drink on him.
But what Brady just said does not make me excited to hear Tom Brady. I don't want to hear an overly prepared Tom Brady dissect the game. That sounded like homework assignment, not an actual fun broadcast to me, the way Brady just described it.
No, I love this from Brady. He might actually, is it possible he could become not as good of a broadcaster as a quarterback? That's not going to happen. But is it possible he gets this amazing second act? I think it is. What if he goes on to become the next John Madden?
What I just heard is setting up for failure. I'd rather hear John Gruden making up stuff on Monday Night Football than a well-prepared Tom Brady.
Gruden was awful.
Oh, Y2 Banana? Gruden was
that
the only...
one line. He was in the booth for 7 years.
He is literally the only broadcaster that I had to hear the whole game for. And I was just dying to know what was...
So he could say nothing critical about anyone and keep calling it the National Football League? We don't know what the acronym is for?
Funny as all get out. He would say the weirdest things. Tom Brady is going to be methodical and prepared.
Listen, Tom Brady.
What the heck does anyone want to hear that for?
I wouldn't put it by Brady that he could drop a curse word or something. This dude, I think he actually has charisma, and I love the fact that he's preparing. Guys, let's be honest. It sounds sometimes, and I'm not naming any names, like some dudes show up. And
Romo, you can say it. Everybody knows it. It's not a secret.
It's rough. It's rough.
I think Aaron Rodgers will be 10 times better than Tom Brady. 10 times better.
Well, he might be in jail.
He's already
defaming Jimmy Kimmel. But here's the thing. I'm just kidding. But here's the thing. At least Brady is going to, there is a technical part of broadcasting.
The boring part.
That you have to know about. No, not to jump on your partner, replays and stuff like that.
Come on. This is football. Just get out there and be like John Madden and say, hit him left, hit him right. Get me a turducken. I don't want to hear any of that stuff.
You don't think John Madden was preparing during the week?
Did you listen to John Madden at the end? He was
at
boom.
the end. That's not the same.
Yeah, I think you're underselling.
No, John Madden was much more spontaneous than what you just. He was very spontaneous.
But
I totally disagree.
John Madden taught a lot of people football. I think you're underselling how
through the
well.
video game.
I'm talking about on the broadcast.
How many John Madden games you remember, EJ?
He covered every Super Bowl and every big game on Fox. What do you mean?
See, I think
you were 5 years old.
I think that Madden
I was loving football back then. So.
John Madden had the foundation, right, where he could teach you a lot, and then he could be silly on top of it.
You guys are misremembering.
He literally invented basically what we now see as the telestrator.
Yeah, this guy goes left, this guy goes right, then boom. He's so close to the strike.
That is such a yada-ing of how John Madden would explain plays that happen in a football game.
Right, but he had so much humor and fun where Tom Brady is going to treat it like a science experiment.
Okay, but that's about personality. I'm worried about Brady being boring and being afraid to say anything critical, but that's not about preparing.
And also, I mean, the Manning cast, yes, they do a lot of joking because they have a lot of guests, but when they're calling the game, that's not, we're underprepared. Eli Manning and Peyton Manning are extremely prepared with what those teams are doing.
Well, Peyton
is.
Eli's showing up in a quarter zip like I'm the little brother. But here's the thing. Tom Brady, what has he shown us in the last couple weeks and months? He's calling out everybody. He's calling out the league. He's calling it mediocre. He's saying lots of things. I think he's going to be good at this, guys.
I think he's going to fall into over preparation and be really boring. I am very curious how this goes. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be the superstar.
Who do you think is the best person doing it now?
I don't know. I watch Red Zone, so it's hard to tell. I don't know. I unlike a lot of people in the media, I do not judge these announcers. I really don't care. I don't have a huge difference in experience in the game with Collinsworth or Romo.
Right.
Or I actually kind of like them all. But I don't know. Do you really does it impact how you enjoy the game, how the color guy is doing?
Yeah,
Not
definitely.
the main announcer.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the play-by-play, listen, you got to be so good to get to that level. Like, you can't rest on laurels. I know Al Michaels, we kind of clown him a little bit that he was bored by some of these games. But I think there are definitely guys who are better than other guys, for sure.
But it doesn't impact whether you're going to watch the game at all.
Well, it impacts the enjoyment of the game if you're somebody who likes to watch it with the sound on. It doesn't make me want to not watch, but you're telling me, there's some guys who I just, Romo
notice
is tough.
it.
Jonathan Vilma can be tough sometimes, even though he does balance it out with really good things at times.
Doesn't he get the Jets every week, basically?
The Giants usually, because it's Fox.
Yeah, it doesn't affect me 1%. Not even 1% the announcer.
You don't notice it? You don't go, that guy's
I notice
bad?
it. I'm like, oh, that guy's an idiot. And I personally, I think Troy and Joe are amazing.
Yeah,
right?
they are.
But I think Troy annoys me to death. He's overcritical of quarterbacks like he invented the position. It drives me nuts.
But that's the point.
You're just
that's
said
what we
we
Yeah,
just
but
said.
honestly, I criticize Troy Aikman a lot. I'm like, you just said that guy missed that throw. Like, nobody can hit that throw, but Troy's like, oh, I would have hit that
Yeah,
throw.
so you
I
do
hate
have
that.
an opinion.
Yeah, but I have an opinion. But I still love when Aikman and Buck do a game. They're great.
Right.
I think Romo and Nance are great. First of all, Jim Nance can do anything.
Yeah, that's
I think. I don't even care. I don't mind Al and Kirk Herbstreit that much. I do think they're doing. Kirk obviously has trouble transitioning to the NFL, but if they had good games, I could care less. I would love to stay up and watch a good game on Thursday
The
night.
thing that hurts Kirk is that he's so good on the college broadcast, which literally happens in the same 72-hour span as the Thursday night. It's like we're watching your JV level and then we're watching you do the varsity. It's like that doesn't help him. That's not his fault. But you get the stark comparison in a 3-day span.
But what really hurts him is how bad the Thursday night games are. If
the games are bad.
If the games were great, and I think that's partly because of the short week, right?
No,
It's
but
by
see-
definition. If the games were great, you would not have a less satisfying experience.
That's the thing about Romo. He's getting everything. He's got the good AFC Championship game. He has the marquee games, and I liked him earlier on, and I find that it's like he hasn't improved. That would be my criticism.
I will tell you one thing about Romo is he gets lost in the mix of the 1 and 4 o'clock games where Aikman and Collinsworth and Herbstreit are all standalone. So it's a little bit of a different thing. Although come playoffs, I mean, Romo's doing the Super Bowl this year, right?
Of course, yep.
I still like Romo. I understand what you're saying. He's gotten loose. He gets a lot of criticism, but he does have energy. Will you give him that?
He does. He's interested.
A for effort.
$17 million for effort.
Yeah, we should actually, and I'm curious, we should go back and listen to a John Madden telecast. I think it's a lot looser than I think you guys are saying.
Bogish, anything else?
No, I'm good for now.
And then boom.
So much.
and the guy goes, and then boom.
Coming up, J.J. McCarthy, what did he have to say about Michigan and their title hopes? Would it be tainted because of the sign-stealing scandal? We'll get to the latest. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. $45 seconds remaining. $30 seconds remaining. $15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, CBS Sports Radio morning show. We're going to have the national championship on Monday, Perloff, and J.J. McCarthy doing a teleconference with reporters and really having to defend the Michigan Wolverines, saying we did things the right way as players. It would be very unfortunate to not get recognized for all the hard work that we put in and everything we accomplished over the last year. This was asked if down the line, if anything was vacated by the NCAA in terms of the sign stealing scandal. We know that Jim Harbaugh was suspended. That was by the Big Ten. So the NCAA is still doing an investigation. Now, one other thing that McCarthy did cop to, he said that, they felt like Ohio State, while gathered in a legal way, did have their signs, and they felt like they had to do something to even the playing field, and we ... This is how the Connor Stallion scandal was born.
Well, one thing about McCarthy does have plausible deniability. He's a player. He had nothing to do with this idea to steal signs. Jim Harbaugh obviously takes the blame for that ultimately.
Right.
I think J.J. McCarthy knows one thing, and regardless of vacating or not, if they could beat Alabama and Washington, everyone knows they don't have the signs now. If a team gives them the signs, then they're just idiots. So I think this will do enough, and J.J. McCarthy kind of hinted at it. If we win this title, you can't say it was sign stealing because we got through this, these last 2 games. They didn't have to play anyone in the regular season. So their key games were without signs. So I think they've proved enough that we'll look at them as a real champion. And I think that's what McCarthy was trying to say.
Listen, you can look at Michigan and say, okay, they deserve to win this, but please don't tell me that the sign-stealing scandal is just going to go away and no one's going to remember it. Because what happens, even to good teams, sometimes you get tripped up in the regular season. And the fact that they had this advantage, I mean, clearly shows that, if it wasn't working, they wouldn't have been doing it. And to me, that's the indictment right there. So whether they benefited to the tune of 1 touchdown or 7 points or to the tune of 40 points, to me, they did get an advantage. It is part of the story. And it stinks for the players because, they're not complicit in this, but that's why Jim Harbaugh deserves to be criticized here.
Yeah, it's funny. It is part of the story. I agree with that part, but I don't think it's really going to affect the way we look at this team because nobody says the Patriots were great because of the way they videotaped the opponent's signs. They say, because think of 2007, they got caught in week 1 against the Jets. And then they go on to win their next 16 games, and they clearly weren't videotaping illegally there.
They've continued the videotaping.
Well, I know they came back, but they obviously are not winning because of the videotaping because they went on an 18-game win streak after that. And they had another 18-game win streak later.
They did get an advantage. It created a paranoia around the New England Patriots that probably still exists to this day. And there was and they did get punished for it, and it is part of Belichick's legacy. And hell,
it's part of legacy, but nobody thinks they won because of where their video cameras were pointing.
Tell the Rams that. I mean, you're talking about the walkthrough before the Super Bowl.
Not proved,
but you're going to tell.
In fact, almost basically disproved. But
listen, I think that'd be a hard sell for those Rams.
Well, they were caught for videotaping illegally. They weren't caught for bugging the other team's intercom system, all that. You can say whatever you want about the Patriots. You can't point to the videoing is the reason that Tom Brady won 6 Super Bowls.
Here's a question. If J.J. McCarthy also said that 80% of teams are doing something like this, but clearly the Michigan scandal was more elaborate than any because they did unprecedented things to Michigan this season to punish them. You never, ever see someone get punished in the midst of the scandal. We know how college sports works. You get punished 5 years down the line for this kind of stuff. The other NCAA investigation that Jim Harbaugh is facing is something that happened in 2020.
Do you really think that no other teams are pushing the boundaries on sign stealing?
Listen, you've always used that as an excuse to Michigan, and I think it's a poor one.
You just said that nobody's doing it like Michigan. How on earth would we possibly know? Every other team doesn't have a moron like Connor Stallions. I'm sure that the elite programs, you're saying that Michigan is doing this and nobody in the SEC is doing this?
Okay, but
that's naive.
Okay, but here's the thing. Then where is it?
It's called cheating.
No.
Nobody knows about it. It's just because one player gets caught taking money under the table doesn't mean that everybody else isn't doing it. They're just doing it better.
Okay, but you can't say just because one person got caught means everyone else is doing it. Just because,
yes,
you can't
but we know everybody
law.
was getting paid under the table in college football. Just because you got caught, nobody thought that the other teams that weren't getting caught weren't paying people under the table.
You're telling me that the rivalries in the SEC aren't to the point where if Alabama knew that Auburn was doing this, they wouldn't rat them out? Why wouldn't they?
You're telling me Alabama and Auburn are an hour and a half away, that there were no live scouts from Alabama at Auburn? Come on.
Videotaping on the sidelines? I do not think so. 855-212-4CBS. Coming up, celebrity NFL pickers in the house. YouTube.com/CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's the reigning Fortnite champion. She's a Call of Duty legend. They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Welcome to the show, Real Live Cowboys. That's what we've got in the studio right now. It is Thursday, so we are having our celebrity NFL game pickers, and they brought us gifts, Perloff.
So exciting.
How do you look in a cowboy hat? We're about to find out. YouTube.com/CBS Sports Radio, Twitch.tv/CBS Sports Radio. We've got Dalton Castle. We've got Jesse Petrie. They are two professional bull riders on the Monster Energy Buck Off at the Garden. They're in New York, Madison Square Garden, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Jesse and Dalton, thank you so much, and thanks for being our celebrity NFL pickers today.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for having us.
What do Cowboys do in New York City? How you guys been having a good time?
Oh, there's so much to see here that we're not used to. Yeah.
I can imagine. Okay, so we've got a lot of questions for you. You are also going to pick some NFL games for us. You guys are both massive football fans. Jesse, big Florida Gator fan. And who's your pro team?
I'd have to go with the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay, so Dallas Cowboys. And Dalton, you're from Texas, so you're a Dallas Cowboy fan.
Dallas Cowboys, and then I have to go with the Texas Tech.
And Texas Tech. Okay, very good. So you guys have your fan affiliations. We'll get into the Cowboys stuff in a moment.
Wait, I have a quick question about New York. Are there still any bars that have that bull riding machine? There used to be one in the West Village. Did you guys, you guys should go to a New York bar and get on one of those, what do they call those?
A mechanical bull.
Mechanical bull. I mean, you will be walking away with 3 women out of that. You will just dominate that machine.
See, the thing is, I don't think I can ride one of those very good.
Why not?
Yeah, it's totally different than riding a real bull.
Okay, so in order to train to become a professional bull rider, we've got Dalton Castle, we've got Jesse Petrie for the Monster Energy Buck Off at the Garden is what's happening this weekend. How do you train then if it's not on a mechanical bull?
Real bulls.
You train on the real bull.
So it's just as dangerous as if we were at an event. So we train on real bulls, and might be less quality of a bull, slower and stuff, so you can think about it a little bit more, but it's still all the same.
This feels like the NFL teams that say they practice at game speed. Like, are you worried ever, Jesse, that you're going to get hurt while you're practicing?
It's definitely like a thought that is in our head, but we just kind of try to block it out because it is part of the sport. But if you want to practice, you're going to have to risk it. You know what I mean?
What other kind of training do you guys do? Because I imagine there's got to be, there's a sweet spot here between the skill of riding a bull and then also the fearlessness that you just obviously have to be maybe born with. But what kind of training? Do you guys, are you running sprints? Are you lifting weights? What do you do?
So mainly just lifting weights. And some guys, like Dalton, he doesn't even work out. But
a lot of 12-ounce curls.
Wow. That's a Budweiser or something like that.
Yeah. But I like to just kind of stay in fit, just lift kind of light weights and body weight type stuff, and stay agile and ready to go. I feel like it's kind of better for staying healthy as well.
Okay. Yeah, you guys are in great shape. I would think maybe having a little more weight on the bull would help you, or no? What's the perfect body type?
No, kind of a smaller body type. Like, you got to think of it like your gymnasts and dancers. They're not big, and they are doing flips and stuff. And so it's kind of similar to that because we don't want to be too big where we're sluggish.
Yeah.
We want to be light where we're kind of just able to be agile and move around and feel what they're doing.
Man, hats off to you guys. Dalton Castle and Jesse Petrie, they're professional bull riders. They are here in New York City with the Monster Energy Buck Off at the Garden. They're also going to be picking some NFL games for us. Before we pick the NFL games, though, we want to play a little bit of a game here. Is this more dangerous than riding a bull? So we'll ask you something. You tell us if this is more dangerous or less dangerous than riding a bull. Swimming with sharks.
More dangerous, hands down.
You think that swimming with sharks is more dangerous than riding a bull?
Oh, most definitely.
I think so.
There's only a handful of shark deaths a year. I guess there aren't that many bull, but only 3 or 4 people a year get eaten by sharks. It's not that dangerous.
Same with bull riding.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
So.
You don't think you could swim away? on the bull, you're definitely not. Okay, race car driving. What is more dangerous, professional bull riding or race car driving?
I'd say bull riding on that one.
Okay.
That's up in the air. They're both scary.
Okay.
So,
but race car drivers are wearing pads and helmets and things, and you guys...
They wear helmets.
Yeah, but you guys don't have a Hans device around you. That's what I'm...
We're also not going 300 miles an hour.
That's
200
true.
miles an hour.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea how speed is not something, but how high? How do you measure what you're doing? What metrics do you use? Just time. How long you can stay on the bull?
Just time and how we get 1 to 50 points for our riding, and then the bull gets 1 to 50. So we got judges for that. We just try to stay on them.
You got to have crazy core strength. Okay, solo climbing, like free solo climbing, more or less dangerous than riding a bull?
Oh, most definitely dangerous. Yeah, I hate heights, so yeah, that's awful. That's dumb.
I'd call it more dangerous, too.
All right. We've got Dalton Castle here, Jesse Petrie. They are professional bull riders. They're here to pick some NFL games for us. Let's hit the music.
Time for celebrity picks.
All right. So we're going to give you guys some NFL games. You're going to have to pick them. Let's start off with a game on Saturday. You've got the Texans. You've got the Indianapolis Colts. This is a really tight game. Houston on the road, but only a 1-point favorite. This could be for the AFC South division. All this is up in the air. Jesse, who do you like in this game?
I'm going with the Texans all the way.
Okay. We weren't sure. Are you also going to take the Texans?
No, I'm going to go with Indianapolis.
Okay. You guys if you're a Dallas Cowboy fan, what's the thought on the Houston Texans?
I live in Texas, so I figured any Texas team I can root for, I'm going to do it.
Have you guys performed in that stadium? Don't they do a lot of have you ever
AT&T?
No, I don't know where the game.
This is an Indy.
Oh, okay. How about the Houston Stadium? Because I know that is a huge deal there.
This year we will be.
I've been to that arena.
Yeah.
Well, the national championship game is going to be there on Monday for Michigan and Washington. Okay, let's keep going here. You've got the Jaguars and the Titans. Again, more AFC South showdowns here. Jacksonville in Tennessee. They're a 5-point favorite. Who do you think?
Yeah, I have to go with Jaguars. You got to go with Jacksonville.
There you go.
I think
Jesse, same.
Jaguars.
Okay, let's keep it moving here. You've got the Chicago Bears, the Green Bay Packers. This is a big one. Green Bay's at home. They're a 3-point favorite. Who do you like in this one?
You got to go with Green Bay. It's hard to win there, especially this time of year and the weather. You got to go with Green Bay.
I'm going to go with Green Bay.
Green Bay also? Okay.
Well, you guys are warm weather guys. Clearly, you have no interest in going to Lambeau Field
Florida,
in
Texas,
January.
No.
Yeah, no, it's okay.
Okay. Perloff's Philadelphia Eagles are playing the Giants in New York, right here. You guys have been going around doing a lot of sports stuff. The Eagles are a 5-point favorite. Who do you like in this game?
New York Giants for sure. I mean,
get out of here. Get out of here.
It definitely should be the Eagles.
Yeah.
But they kind of dropped the ball the last couple weeks, so
all right,
we're going to go with the Eagles.
I don't want to hear this.
I'm going with the Eagles still.
Got two Cowboys fans in here picking the Eagles game. Doesn't seem right.
That one might have been unfair. Okay, let's go to those Cowboys. They're in Washington, D.C., facing the Commanders. They win this game. They win the NFC East. They get that number 2 seed. 13-point favorite. Dallas Cowboys and the Commanders. I'm going to have you pick this one with the spread. Do you think they're going to win by 13 or more?
I'm going with a 21-point spread.
Oh, wow. So lay the 13. Okay.
Yeah. No, Washington's not very good this year.
No, they're not.
So, Cowboys, they've been decent, and they've had a lot of luck on their side.
You got that right.
But Washington's terrible.
There you go. Final one for you. This is for the AFC East. The Buffalo Bills, my team, in Miami to face the Miami Dolphins. Bills are a 3-point favorite in this game. The Bills win this, they win the AFC East. If they lose this game, they might not make the playoffs at all.
You going with Miami?
Oh, how dare you.
I got to go with Miami.
No, guys. Well, thank you so much for being our celebrity NFL pickers. Again, Monster Energy, you got the Buck Off at the Garden. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And you guys are kind of just sort of getting started on the tour, right?
It's like our 4th event for the season.
Okay, so if you want to enjoy the skill that these gentlemen have to offer, you got to look it up. The Buck Off at the Garden. It's sponsored by Monster Energy, as I said. And I guess, congratulations and good luck with everything.
Yeah, how are we going to do this weekend? What's the vibe? We feeling good?
First and second place. That's the plan.
Yeah. I know because you did mention the bars are late in New York. I hope you guys are focused here. There's a lot going on in New York City.
Good thing my wife's coming today, so she'll keep me on track.
Yeah, I know. Don't worry, though. Wives in New York City can also do a lot of damage. There's a lot of good shopping, a lot of Broadway shows. Okay, really appreciate this. Dalton Castle, thank you so much. Jesse Petrie, you guys are fantastic for doing this. And stay safe, please.
Thank Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for having us.
Appreciate that. A lot more to do, including the breakdown of the college football national championship that you have not heard yet. We've got all that for you next. Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
You can stream the NFL Westwood Run for free, sponsored by AutoZone all season long. You can listen to every Westwood Run broadcast of the NFL live on the NFL app by asking Alexa to open Westwood Run Sports or on the Odyssey app. Get in the zone, AutoZone. AutoZone's free battery testing and charging is available for free at your local AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Restrictions apply. I got to tell you, Maggie, professional bull riders in the studio, they eyed us and said immediately, those are two people who have never been on a bucking bull in their life.
I think there was like a bar or something like Fontana's at one time that maybe I got on a bucking bull, but I don't think
that's
so.
A mechanical bull. Can you imagine a real bull?
No, I can't. And yes, they were right to size us up and say that we would never do that. We just
I get nervous around heifers. I'm like, that cow is eyeing me on that field over there.
We just had some professional bull riders in the studio. They're here in town at Madison Square Garden, but we had them pick some NFL games for us. We played a game for them called More Dangerous Than Riding a Bull. Let's go around the studio here. Here are some of the options. We said, would you rather swim with sharks?
Okay, no.
Be a race car driver, free solo climber, or professional bull rider?
What would, actually the question is, what would you least like to do?
Oh, right. You want to do least like to do?
Like, what's the one that would terrify you the most?
Swim with the sharks.
Sharks.
To me, no, free solo.
The free solo is so scary.
Nah, I can't do it. I'd die. I can barely get out of bed, let alone climb up a rock face.
Wait, I just got a news flash for you. You swim with the sharks, you're probably also going to die.
That's 100% not true. There are people who pay good money to go swim with sharks.
Wait, but didn't you have the irrational fear that you were going to get eaten by a shark and then combined with a Siamese twin?
Yeah.
And now you're saying you're open to
sharks
that?
Are my biggest fear. Sharks are my biggest fear because I do actually get in the ocean to play in the waves, so I could get eaten by a shark. There's no situation where I am climbing up El Capitan without any ropes. That's just not happening. But think about the actually being, a half a mile up in the air with no ropes.
Okay, but here's one thing. If you're free solo climbing, at least I have control over where I'm putting my hands and feet next. I know there's not really control because you're at the mercy of the mountain and the elements, but I have a feeling of control. If I'm swimming with sharks, I've got no control over the situation.
People swim with sharks. If you put on scuba gear, you want to see sharks. Like if the shark can see you and see that you're human and knows what you are, he's not going to eat you.
But I assume if I'm a free solo climber, I'm good. Like I'm a good one.
This was us. No, this isn't just this is not a theoretical. These are all things we could do. You could jump in a car and go 100. I mean,
well, that would be the one I definitely would pick if I could pick one of these.
Race car driver.
Yeah, and I can't even drive. I would still do it. Well, no. If I had,
EJ doesn't have a license and he'd still pick race car driver.
No, I would still I would say, I'm in the Daytona 500. Okay, I'll try to win, and it'd be scary as hell, but I'd do it.
I wouldn't want to get on a bull, by the way. That's not high up on my list of things that I want to try.
No, these guys actually, at least they do wear helmets these days. I think that became a thing like 10 years ago. They started to wear helmets. They were just wearing cowboy hats before that.
And I think they wear some kind of chest thing as well.
Yeah.
But the event's great. I've been to this thing at the Garden. It's super fun.
I've watched it. I mean, I was telling them when they walked in, I was like, I used to watch it as a kid all the time because in the summer you got nothing to do and there's only so much PS2 you can play. And they would have it on during the day all the time because there's no sports besides baseball, and it was gnarly.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
Yeah, it is. Like you see some of these, unfortunately, sometimes you see injuries or, the line of danger you're putting yourself in, even if you're a great bull rider, is high. So I much respect to the guys we had in today.
Do you think those guys today, Dalton and Jesse, changed their names to sound like perfect? Like Dalton and Jesse? Come on.
Like wrestlers? Like how
their
wrestlers change their
like
names?
Mike and Bill, and they're like, well, I'm a bull rider. I got to be named Dalton. I mean, isn't that required to be a bull rider?
You think their names are really like Mortimer and Sebastian or something? Yeah. Okay.
Like, we have two bull riders, and their names are Dalton and Jesse, of course. I mean, either these guys are the teenage boys in a show on the CW, or they're professional bull riders.
I don't know. Do you hear those accents? Those guys are the real deal.
I think they are too. I don't think you can fake that. Andrew Bokish is here. He's got headlines. Hello.
Hello, guys. Zach Wilson might not be a good quarterback, but at least he doesn't make light of horrible situations and take shots at late-night TV hosts. The Jets ruled out Wilson again yesterday, still in concussion protocols. So has he played his last game for gangrene, Robert Saleh?
We'll see. It's all things that we're going to have to talk about once the season's over, but whether it's here or somewhere else, I believe he's going to have a hell of a career.
Sure. The Jets and Patriots.
Do we think Robert Saleh is going to have a hell of a career?
No.
Not as Jets head coach.
Let me ask you just a question. Is it really a concussion or are they just done with his Zach Wilson?
No,
is he really
got
sick?
knocked out.
Twice.
Yes. I mean, if you watch that Dolphins game, the hit he took from Bradley Chubb, and the offensive line giving him no help. That's why I defended Zach Wilson, saying, hey, you want to play behind those clowns. And then what happened? First game he goes out there, he's out in the first half. I mean, he got crushed by Bradley Chubb. So I think he is seriously hurt.
And maybe I'm naive here, but I don't think you can stay in concussion protocols because the team wants to do Fugazi roster moves. I think there's too many checkpoints that you would need Zach Wilson to lie about how he feels. He's still in concussion protocols. You can't leave him there because you want to hide him.
I mean, talk about it. Let's just, I know this might be, say he's got concussion syndrome, right? And this is something that affects him the rest of his life. What was that worth?
Yeah.
I mean, money. He made a lot of money. But you were the punching bag for the Jets, that you were a laughingstock. Your teammates may have hated you. You got put behind a terrible offensive line. Eventually, Aaron Rodgers took all of your shine. And now you've got maybe head trauma. Wow.
I mean, people owe Zach Wilson an apology.
No.
They do. There was no reason for him to go out there after he got benched again. Go find Boyle or Simeon, those other guys, and make those guys play behind them and see how good they are.
This is the thing, though. Every professional football player on TV and otherwise said there's no way you can take yourself out. It's code of the road. It's part of it. You can't say, I don't want to play if you're healthy. It's a bad look.
I mean, maybe I'm naive, but Zach Wilson had a huge high when he played great in that game. Wasn't that worth something to him?
Maybe.
I mean, at least you can. I bet you earn some money off of that. I'll bet you he'll get a backup job basically because you say, "Oh, okay, he can have a good game." That was actually a pretty good game.
I just
only one
realized
good
something.
half, by the way, too. They had no points. It was a 0-0 game.
Yeah, I know, but he ended up kind of torching them in the second half, which showed team something.
I just realized something. Yesterday we were talking about depressing movies. Is there anything more depressing than talking about the Jets quarterback situation?
No.
I'm sorry.
No, there's nothing.
It doesn't
nothing
matter.
In the world.
We can talk about Rodgers. That's depressing. His thing with Jimmy Kimmel. We can talk about Zach Wilson is depressing as all hell. I mean,
by the way,
this is such a downer.
I don't think it's a long-term thing. CJ Stroud was out 2 weeks and no one's saying, oh, he's not going to have a career. Guys come back. Tua's an MVP candidate, and Tua's about to sign a $250 million deal. That is the ultimate head trauma case.
No, I get it.
The Ravens, Niners, Chiefs playing it safe this weekend. Lamar Jackson, Brock Purdy, Patrick Mahomes will sit out their regular season finales. So we get Tyler Huntley, Sam Darnold, and Blaine Gabbert instead. Bills QB Josh Allen said yesterday the stinger from Sunday not affecting him, quote, at all. So he'll be fine for Sunday night against the Dolphins, who added a fire at Tyreek Hill's home to their list of issues yesterday. Hill left the facility during practice to get back home. His wife and mother-in-law were at home at the time, but both got out fine.
Did they know how that started?
That I didn't see. I read, the last thing I read yesterday was that they couldn't get into the house right away, so they were waiting for somebody, some other authority to show up. But then Drew Rosenhaus said, and he's Tyreek's agent, that it was secluded is not the right word. It was basically
isolated
to one section of the top floor. Maybe it started in the attic.
Okay.
That is a big house. I watched the video.
It's crazy. It's on fire, but 9/10 of it seem to be untouched by the flames.
Wow.
That's crazy.
They got lucky.
The Indiana Pacers are good at beating the Bucks. Now 4-1 against Milwaukee after last night's 142-130 home win. Tyrese Halliburton, 31 points, 12 assists, 0 turnovers. Milwaukee head coach Adrian Griffin has seen enough of him.
Well, he's a good player, right? He makes some tough shots. At the end, he kind of got going and hit some deep threes. But overall, I think we did a pretty good job.
everything except for, again, all those points, all the assists, no turnovers, and a loss.
Do these teams just play each other every day?
Well, yes, and I think they had an IST game, too, which added to their total.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. They had an IST game that was
Got
great.
chippy.
Semifinal, and then the next game, basically a brawl happened because they wouldn't give Giannis his 60 ball.
Yeah, right. Remember that?
Yeah. That
wow.
Because they wanted to keep it for someone's debut.
For
Oscar Sheboy.
Oscar Sheboy, yes, former Kentucky
Oh, my
great.
God. That was only like a month ago, right? I feel like that was
I'm telling you, these two
a
teams
long time
play,
ago.
These two teams play twice a week. The NBA is just playing a trick on all.
I will say, I mean, Adrian Griffin, I understand it with Halliburton. That guy he's like a cheat code.
Yeah.
He does not turn the ball over. He does not miss shots. And he always finds the open man. Watching him play right now is like he's playing point guard at another level.
Don't say this to Perloff. 76ers could have had him and they
Probably.
went with James Harden.
Probably. I don't really believe that they were going to do Sabonis and Halliburton at some point. Also, the other thing, too, the Pacers, I feel like I think they're a media favorite team who's going to lose in the first round.
Oh, they might.
They're not that good. I mean, they let
but
up
aren't
like
they still rebuilding?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But the way people talk about them and the way people specifically love Tyrese Halliburton. Remember during the in-season tournament, you know this on Twitter, it was just like a Tyrese Halliburton festival. I'm like, win something.
Well,
and then we'll
Halliburton
talk.
is that good. I don't know about the Buddy Hields or the Miles Turners. You want to say we don't love those guys? Yeah. This guy he's the real deal.
EJ, you're so New York because you were such a sucker for point guards. You just love Jalen Brunson, you love Tyrese Halliburton,
but how do you not love Tyrese
Shea
Halliburton?
Gilgeous-Alexander.
Halliburton moves the ball. He's leading
those are your
12.
favorite participants. You're a point guard guy.
But Halliburton's awesome. Like, what do you not like about him? He's putting up John Stockton stats that we haven't seen in 30 years.
I do like him. I'm just saying you get extra excited about these point guards. You were just
clearly Adrian Griffin, who said, "Hey, he had 30 points and 1 million assists, but hey, at least we tried." Championship contender saying, "Hey, what were we supposed to do?"
Did you guys see the quote from Rick Carlisle, the coach of the Pacers, about the playing offense?
No.
He said the team's historic offense is fun, but he said being historically great is fun, but even dating a pretty girl gets boring after a while if she can't guard anybody.
Wow.
It's like, I would date the supermodel, but if she lets up one more backdoor cut, I swear she is out.
Elsewhere last night, the Heat won at the Lakers 110-96. The Clippers stayed hot with a 131-122 victory in Phoenix. The Mavs smoked the Blazers 126-97, and the Knicks roughed up the Bulls in a game that began at 10 Eastern time at the Garden. Jalen Brunson scored 31. Julius Randle had 34. Seriously, was it 8:45?
Yeah.
EJ?
Were they setting up for the
time
Bull
this got
Riders?
rolling?
Oh yeah, this was the weirdest thing.
Why?
It was the latest game. I mean, it was an ABC game, which that made it odd. I thought maybe it was something with ABC.
I mean, it was. So the weird thing is that I didn't know this until yesterday, is ABC switched their game from Saturday to Wednesday.
Yes.
So their big weekly primetime game
It's
is
now
now Wednesday night.
Is that because of the writer's strike?
Wait, not Saturday afternoon at 3:30 when it usually
No, I mean,
was?
No, it used
I'm
to be
saying
Saturday
there's
night.
a lack of content, so they had to switch it? Or
Well, they didn't add a game. They switched it.
Right, I'm saying because they don't have shows. Because
Well, no, but they
they're
have
so
shows
catch-up?
now. Shows are coming back now.
Oh, are they? Okay.
Yeah, but this is
weird to me.
maybe the Saturday wasn't good enough ratings-wise, so I think we're going to get a lot of East Coast 8:30 starts now.
And I got to be real. And there was a guy who used to sit in this chair. We talked about it a lot. Sean Marash. Like
who?
Mraz on this
that guy?
network.
Oh.
This should be his thing. And I used to kind of think, stop complaining, Mraz. Now it's my thing. That was absurd. All right, it's 8:30 on the eastern seaboard, whatever.
Time zone.
Yeah, exactly. And you have a Knicks game that's local time, ending at 11 o'clock. You say an 8:30 start. The game doesn't start till 8:40.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
I actually don't feel bad about complaining about this anymore. I don't think it means you're old. I don't think it means like you're not cool. I'm sorry, if you're going to live in this time zone, you don't want your sports to be ending at 1 a.m.
And forget about like us. Like, okay, if you wanted to take anybody to a kid to that game, you couldn't do that.
No way.
If you wanted to go to the game yourself and you work early next day, you couldn't do that. It doesn't help the fans. It doesn't help the viewing public. It helps nobody.
Did you guys see the ratings for the first college football semifinal game were
Huge, right?
and the
Yeah.
second one fell off and
Yeah, I mean, I
started
think
at 9 o'clock Eastern.
Yeah, partly the teams too, I think. But they did, they could have. I was annoyed by that one, that they didn't do an afternoon game and do another afternoon game.
Yeah, because they want the sunset over the Rose Bowl.
No, it's not even the sunset. It's the fact that the Rose Bowl wants to be on January 1st and it can't be on any other day unless they're the national championship. So they said instead of having it on December 31st, where people are actually up and they don't mind maybe staying up to watch a late football game. And
I think those games got destroyed.
Yeah, those games.
They do not want to be on New Year's Eve ever again.
No,
if they don't
I know,
have to.
but because of that now, everyone else suffers. Now nobody watched this 9 p.m. Eastern January 1st game where people going to work the next day.
Yeah, I think they should probably just make the Rose Bowl the championship game, because then it's one game. You will stay up for that. Yeah, as opposed to you're asking people for 8 hours of football right there. Yeah. And a lot of it's super late. Anyway.
Well, is it because they want that beautiful sunset?
I thought it was because they wanted the sunset.
That's definitely one of the reasons.
But then they couldn't do the national championship game because that'd be too early for the primetime window they need to get the sunset in the third. Anyway, the other thing, too, is Alabama is a little bit Dallas Cowboys-ish for the college football. I feel like they're always going to do a huge rating. I think the highest-rated games are always Alabama games, with Deion sort of flashing in there a little bit.
But going back to last night, doesn't it seem logical that if you start that game at, say, 8 at the latest, you're gaining more viewers by the East Coast staying up for the end than you are by starting it later so that the West Coast can get home for the beginning of the game? Like, I feel like people going to sleep is a bigger group than the people rushing home from work to make sure they can see a 5:30 Pacific time tip.
Also, let's be fair. I mean, who on the West Coast, unless you're transplant,
is watching
why are
that
you
game?
watching a Knicks Bulls game?
Right. And I'm a Knicks fan wearing a Knicks sweater. And I'm totally. It was ridiculous.
If it's a Laker game, I get it,
Yeah. Some serious stuff for just a second. Dominican Republic prosecutors have formally charged Rays shortstop Juan DeFranco for an inappropriate relationship with a minor. They asked a judge yesterday to place him under house arrest. That ruling comes tomorrow. The victim's mother is facing the same charges as Franco for allegedly accepting money and maybe a car from him as this relationship went on. Men's top 25 action last night. Number 23, Providence took a 61-57 home loss from Seton Hall. And first team all Big East pick from last year, Bryce Perkins, suffered a seemingly serious left knee injury. And maybe some soccer news to finish. French star Kylian Mbappe said yesterday he is still deciding between re-signing with PSG or leaving for free over the summer. If he does leave, Real Madrid and multiple English clubs like Liverpool will go after him. Guys,
what kind of contract would he get?
I've given up on understanding soccer economics because they get paid like by the week, and there's so much going on.
Then there's a transfer fee, and
although this wouldn't be for him, he would leave for free.
He's a free agent, right?
Guys, I'm sorry. The correct answer is $1 gajillion.
Yeah.
Or maybe he'll play in Saudi Arabia for $2 gajillion.
This feels like I don't know, whatever the LeBron decision year was, this is what this feels like for Mbappe times 3. We've been talking about when is he going to leave PSG for like 2-3 years now.
Yeah.
And is he only 26 and he's like top 3 player in the world and all these clubs want to pay him infinite dollars?
So how many years till we do the MLS thing with him? 5?
No,
6?
longer than that.
Yeah, we won't see him for another decade.
Yeah. 10 years, yeah.
Right in the sweet spot.
Yep.
Thank you, Bogish.
Whatever. We'll all try and get tickets to see Mbappe.
Definitely.
Sure.
855-2124-CBS. What did Micah Parsons have to say about one of his teammates? We have that for you next. It's Maggie and Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff, mornings here on CBS Sports Radio. You're just going to rock this cowboy hat now?
Yeah, why are you not wearing your cowboy hat, Maggie?
All right, well, maybe we had professional bull riders who are here in studio as celebrity NFL pickers.
Do I look natural in this? Can I wear this to Las Vegas for the Super Bowl? A cowboy? Can I become a cowboy hat guy?
Do you look natural in a cowboy hat? How do I say this politely?
I already know the answer.
But now that we have the cowboy hats on, let's do a cowboy quickie. Micah Parsons, ever heard of him? He's got a podcast. He was talking about fellow Dallas Cowboy CeeDee Lamb, set the Dallas Cowboys single-season franchise record for receiving yards. He says he's the best wide receiver in the league.
CeeDee Lamb set 2 Cowboys franchise records in the game. He passed Michael Irvin for the most catches and the most receiving yards in the season. He was selected for a drug test. It doesn't even matter. We know he's clean. That's CeeDee Lamb, the best receiver in the NFL. Not top 5, not top 3. He's top 2, not 2. And I think he's putting on the show. And if it wasn't for that little drought period before he had to show that he's always open, he arguably would have broke the record. I don't care what nobody says. CeeDee's a boss. He probably should be Offensive Player of the Year.
High praise.
Yeah, I don't think this is the hottest take of all takes. I think that's a pretty reasonable argument. There's one problem out there. Is Tyreek Hill is having a record-breaking season, too, in Miami. And I think Tyreek Hill has a bit of more unique skill set than CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is second in the league in yards, so this doesn't sound outrageous. And what if you told me this 6 weeks ago or 8 weeks ago, I'd been like, what are you talking about? There's no way CeeDee Lamb's the second best receiver or first. But now it's funny he says that. I'm like, oh, you know what? He might be onto something.
Okay, so I'll just ask you this question, and I think CeeDee Lamb is awesome. He's definitely a number one. But if I'm giving you blank slate,
okay,
and I just say, all right, you're a general manager, you get to start a professional football team, here's your wide receivers, are you really telling me CeeDee Lamb is going to be your number one pick? You're not going to take Tyreek Hill? You're not going to take Justin Jefferson? Devontae Adams? I mean,
Devontae Adams is old. I think Justin.
I mean, what are we talking about?
I mean, Devontae Adams is 30. Tyreek Hill, I think, is getting up on 30.
29, Tyreek Hill.
Let's just say it's for one season. So let's take age out of it. This is not a team building exercise. I'm asking you right in the moment who's the best wide receiver.
I would think Hill be your one. Then I think CeeDee and Justin Jefferson are kind of right there. I mean, I might take Marvin Harrison Jr. But
where's Jamar Chase?
What's that?
Where's Jamar Chase?
Jamar Chase is right there.
Listen, Justin Jefferson, it was just because he got hurt this year, and the Vikings are on like their 7th quarterback.
But, okay, is Justin Jefferson really appreciably better than CeeDee Lamb? I mean, CeeDee Lamb is a big, tall, fast target, too. I would probably take Jefferson, you're right, playing devil's advocate here, but CeeDee's not far behind. I have no problem with having CeeDee Lamb. He's hard to cover. There are a lot of matchups. What I don't understand is why isn't everyone double teaming him? Because who else is going to hurt you on the Cowboys?
Oh, maybe Brandon Cooks. I don't know.
Cooks is playing better. That's actually a huge factor.
Scored a big touchdown in that
game.
Jake
Ferguson's playing good at tight end. But, okay, so who would you take? Who's just instinct without even analyzing?
Tyreek Hill is my first instinct. I mean, if you're like, number one, who do you want? It's Hill.
But Hill is going to, at some point, going to slow down.
Yeah, not today, though. That's your Cowboy Quickie.
Remember, or it could be one of a couple years ago, Cooper Kupp was the best receiver in the NFL. Jefferson last year was the best receiver. So it does. CeeDee Lamb feels like the flavor of the year. This is really, he's a big part of the story this season.
Let's be honest. I mean, A.J. Brown should be in this conversation. At one time or another, I think Stephon Diggs was in this conversation.
No.
I mean, Mike Evans just made the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, but those guys are not. I mean, CeeDee Lamb is going to press for 2,000 yards.
I understand. Who else made the Pro Bowl? Amari Cooper made the Pro Bowl.
Do you mention Amon-Ra?
Perloff says the coolest person in sports.
Yep.
I mean, listen to that. That is a great player podcast. The two St. Brown brothers, they're hysterical. Amon-Ra and Equanimous. Oh, yeah.
Keenan Allen also made the Pro Bowl.
You're not taking Keenan Allen.
I'm not taking Keenan Allen. I'm just telling you the wide receivers that made the Pro Bowl. Keenan Allen, Jamar Chase, Amari Cooper, Tyreek Hill for the AFC. For the NFC, A.J. Brown, Mike Evans, CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua.
What about DK?
Oh, DK is playing fire right now. What about your guy,
Would he be the
Garrett
person
Wilson?
you start?
How about Garrett Wilson?
Oh, yeah, Garrett Wilson, your guy.
Yeah, I want to see him with a real quarterback. It would probably be great, but I want to know, is it like CeeDee Lamb production?
I'll tell you one fact right now. If you're saying to build a team, open draft, I'm sorry, you're taking a college player. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going number one in that draft over any of these guys. He is.
There's a lot of pressure to put on him.
There's never been a wide receiver prospect like this. He is the whole package.
Let's go to the phones. 855-212-4CBS. Our pal Big Dave is in Kentucky. Hey, Dave, good morning.
Happy New Year, guys.
Same to you, pal. What's up?
How you guys doing?
Great. Making no New Year's resolutions and feeling great about that. I'm just going to be not a new me, Dave. I'm going to be the same old me.
Be the best version of you, Maggie. That's all.
Thank you.
That's all the world could ask for.
She's just going to be the version of her, not the best version.
Not the best, not the worst. I'm just a version.
Well, there's only one Mags.
Thank
you. Anyway, a couple things. Haven't talked to you guys in a while. Really had two quick points. Number one, the Florida State Seminole fan base has now risen to the elite level of most hated, ridiculous human beings on the face of the earth.
Wait, what?
They have taken an unfortunate situation that happened to them being left out of the college football playoff, and they have turned that into, now that Bama loses in overtime to what's probably going to be the eventual national champion, so they're giving us that. See, they didn't belong. We should have been in. Then they take a 60-point grubbing from Georgia and say, we had nothing to play for.
Oh, that's true. Dave, come on. You're ripping Florida State for not showing. Why would they show up for that game?
Oh, McLovin don't.
Oh, get out of here. No, actually, Dave, there is no way. Florida State got screwed by the committee. They did not.
Why would Georgia knows they're not winning the national championship? It's a consolation game. Why should Georgia show up?
No, but Dave, I think that was
starting quarterback.
Well, I think Georgia also was playing a lot of backups.
Show up?
And they still, I
bet their coaching staff told their players to sit out. They're already looking for a built-in excuse because they knew they were going to get their arse handed to them, which happened.
I thought Georgia beat them with backups.
If I was Florida State, I would have said I'm coming to the game and then just not show. I would have just not even gotten on the field because college football didn't deserve to even have them in a bowl game.
Nobody's talking about the fact that 2/3 of the game was played that Georgia played. They had their 2s and 3s in. If I'd have been Kirby, I'd have hung 100. I'd have let the starters in, and I'd have hung 100 on their arse. But listen, that's not the most important call I'm here to make.
Okay, there's more.
If the Dallas Cowboys, my Dallas Cowboys that I have revered, supported since I was 12 years old. If they continue down the path that I foresee happening and getting no farther than the second game of the playoffs, if there's not some systematic change in the offseason, bringing someone else in, then I'm done. I'm done.
Someone else, a coach or a player? What do you mean?
No, I mean, I'm talking about someone in terms of making some football decisions. Someone outside the Jones family, which will never happen. Jerry obviously is not going to be around much longer, but how do I know that Steven's not a Jarrett 2.0? I just don't see this ever changing. This fish stinks from the head down, and I've had enough. It's not worth the emotional investment. I'll probably switch to be a Bengals fan.
Hold on. Oh, wow. Because they've never had any heartbreak. Dave, this is shocking from you, coming off of everything is breaking right for the Cowboys now. You got the miracle gift of the Detroit Lions outsmarted themselves, and the referees helped them out. You got Dallas as the inside track and the number 2 seed. You're going to have 2 home playoff games. This is the year, man.
How much money would you bet right now that the Dallas Cowboys are going to make? Well, let's use the NFC Championship game. How much of your hard-earned money?
Yeah.
Would you lay on the table right now that they'll make it to the NFC Championship game?
I mean, a donation to charity, I would do.
Wait, who would they have to play, though? It's easy at the championship game. What happens once they get there?
Not really. I mean, there's all kinds of options. I mean, I could see the Rams beating them. I could see, there's all kinds of options.
They got to avoid the Rams in the first round, which I think they will.
They're not losing to the Rams. They already beat the Rams, first of all.
I can't say that.
I think they're getting the Packers.
Against Detroit, against the Lions, the refs handed them the game.
Hey, listen, Dave, every team has to get a little lucky, and you're getting a little lucky.
Last 2 games, they scored 20, put up 20 points in each of the last 2, when they were averaging 41 at home.
Dave, I agree with you. Something's wrong right now. What is going on this last month?
This is everything's going right for Dallas right now.
It's really not. They're
not playing well, though. They're playing really. They're not playing like themselves.
For one thing, their offensive line is not holding up. They can't run the ball. It's just we cannot run the freaking ball.
I think Tony Pollard is not a number 1 running back, Dave. And you're right. Some of the interior defensive, offensive line, pardon me, was banged up. Dave, good to hear from you, though. I'm sorry, you're down on your Cowboys, but we'll see. Still got a lot of ball game left.
It's a declaration. I'm not down, Mags. I'm serious this time.
Dave, you're the best. Thank you so much, and Happy New Year.
The Cowboys, actually, the way they're playing reminds me of the Bills. Everyone's talking about the Cowboys, but the truth is they're really playing crappy football for them. They've lost 2 of 3, and they really should have lost 3 of 3. So they could easily be entering this on a 3-game losing streak. Since that win in Philly, or against the Eagles,
Yeah.
like there's been an emotional letdown or something is just off. And I do think Tyron Smith being in and out and all that is a big part of
Okay,
it.
we know they're not good on the road. So the shellacking of the Bills, they just didn't. They no-showed that game. Miami was close, so I know there are no moral victories for the Cowboys.
Miami's
But that was
not
close.
not a great team.
But I'm just saying, like
Yeah.
you're maybe starting to get a little bit closer. Good teams on the road. And then you got a little help against the Lions in a day when CeeDee Lamb sets multiple records for the Cowboys. Like, sky's not falling yet, guys.
Well, it's definitely the worst run they've had. I mean, they've lost 2 or 3. It's the worst run they've had this year. Something is just feel. I think it's Pollard. in the run game. I mean, Dave nailed it. They're just not controlling the ball. They had some big lucky plays to CeeDee Lamb. That is not sustainable.
No, I get it, but it's just funny to me where you're about to lock up the number 2 seed. This is not like the Bills. The Bills are fighting just to get into the playoffs. The Dallas Cowboys, you know you're in, and all you have to do is beat the hapless Commanders.
But wait, what's the Bills seed going to be if they win?
Well, it would be 2, but they also could miss it totally. The Cowboys have that you're in the dance no matter what.
There's definitely a similarity, though, in the sense that they're both probably going to be number 2 seeds.
I'd much rather be the Cowboys right now.
Yeah, I mean, think about a month ago.
Way healthier.
A month ago, Dak Prescott was, I think, the number 1 in Vegas odds for MVP, and that fell off hard last month. Yeah, I don't know what team we're going to get in the playoffs, to be honest. I do think they'll get the NFC title game. They're going to beat Green Bay, and then they'll beat Detroit.
Okay, another question. Do you actually think that Dave would give up the Cowboys?
Oh, yeah.
Big Dave, the warden?
He's so tired of the way this is running. He's been exhausted. Ever since we started the show on CBS Sports Radio, Dave, I've seen him just being beat down by the Jones family again and again and again.
Okay, but it's like, this is a question like if you ever want to move from the United States, like where are you going to go? Where are you going to live? You're going to not be a Cowboy fan? He's going to go be a Bengal fan? That's not all roses.
I mean, this is the day where we see Big Dave and Perloff. They might as well be Vincent Stone Cold shaking hands here. I mean, they're the same energy.
I know.
Nothing bad has happened yet. Like, one of the things my parents always said when I was growing up is do not be concerned about things that haven't happened yet.
It's good
Perloff
advice.
is concerned about losing to the Bucks. Dave's concerned about losing to the Rams. This hasn't happened yet. You guys still have the better teams.
Honestly, EJ, that could be a religion. Like, nothing bad happened yet.
Right, but it's true. Like, we gonna concern yourself with things and saying, well, I'm gonna be a Bengals fan, I'm gonna be a Chiefs fan. Like, what am I hearing?
I like what Dave's saying. By the way, if there was an open draft, I'd put some money. I'd like those Bengals. Maybe David.
No.
I like where they're headed.
Gosh.
I think Zach Taylor knows what he's doing. I'm into the Bengals. I don't know. It's like, how many times do you want to see your team go 12-5 and not do anything in the playoffs?
Well, you're going 12-5. Talk to teams that are really down and out.
Yeah, there's 2 Jet fans behind the glass here, so.
Yeah, I know. You guys have it
No
tough.
playoffs in 13 years.
The Eagles are probably going to hopefully go 12-5 this year, and they're talking about firing Nick Sirianni. So, yeah, I do think 12-5. I mean, we had this discussion before the season. If Mike McCarthy goes 12-5 and loses in the second round again, are they going to fire him? I don't think that's going to happen now.
No.
The momentum seems to be pro McCarthy, but it's amazing. It's going to be the 3rd straight year 12-5, and it could be their 3rd straight year of a second round exit or a loss to the Niners.
So the one question would be, is there any way that like Belichick would want to get there? Speaking of,
get out of here.
I want to play this lion sound really fast because we're talking about things breaking right for the Cowboys to get that fortuitous call that kind of stole a win from Detroit and gave it to Dallas. So Dan Campbell talking on radio in Detroit. Here's what it sounded like.
Like when you got the penalty and moved it to
Go ahead and say it. Say it. Both of you.
What?
Say it. Say what you want to say.
I think from the 7, it's a low percentage play. I think your chances of winning are lower than if you kick the extra point.
I would like you would say it to anybody else. I'm on the radio. Say it like you want to say it.
Yeah. I thought it was a reckless decision.
Thank you.
Okay, but you don't regret it?
No.
I mean, if the Lions don't do something to erase this memory, this could be the kind of thing that stays with a coach and with a team. It's not to the point of Pete Carroll in the Super Bowl not handing the ball off to Marshawn Lynch, clearly, but that was courtesy of 97.1 The Ticket, by the way. But you got to do something to wash this bad taste out of your mouth, or else things like this can linger.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think so because the playoffs are coming, and they're going to be defined 100% by what they do in the postseason. Losing to Stafford would be bad. That would be very bad for Detroit.
Thank you to EJ Stewart. Thank you to Pete Pilati. Thank you to Andrew Kaplan. Thank you to Andrew Bogish, the professional bull riders, Dalton and Jesse, who came into the studio to hang out with us today and gave us these really cool cowboy hats. Appreciate you all. Weedos, coffee drinkers. We'll see everyone tomorrow.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining.